that we went over before. There it is. So we're doing a review over the stuff we went over before. And then we're going to go over some more. And actually, then I'm just going to test you guys and see what you guys remember. And then we're going to look up some your state codes, but you're going to do it, not me. So you guys can understand how to start finding your own laws in your own state. Because no matter what laws I tell you, most of the time I'm going to be going off of California law. So you guys need to be able to understand how to find your laws. You don't necessarily need to memorize them. I would say memorize the most important ones, or the ones that you may get called for a violation the most. But just you need to be able to know how to go in there and search really quickly and not get confused and get messed up by the jargon that they do. They call it the legalese that they have. So we're going to go over that stuff. Let me see. You guys can also share your screen. I don't know if you guys knew that. I know a couple of people from the investment group, you guys know, but everybody else who's on there, you guys can share your screen. So when we start looking for, when we start looking up codes, I'll let go of the screen and you guys can log in, or you'll be able to take over. And when you look up your own codes. Hold on. All right. Now. All right. So before we click on in, who was here last week? Or the couple of weeks before? I know you and Mel was.
Yeah, I was.
I was here for the second week, not the first.
Okay. So reasonable suspicion versus probable cause. Okay, those were the main things that we were talking about before. Reasonable suspicion versus probable cause, which is the main the main thing that gives a police officer the authority to engage with you. So make sure y'all, if I'm talking, y'all not talking, just make sure you mute your phone, because the mics are really sensitive. And so like I noticed that like on playback, like even if you're not hearing it a lot, like on playback, you can really hear a lot of noise. So reasonable suspicion versus probable cause. All right. Some of the people who haven't been in status class, answer what's reasonable suspicion versus probable cause? What's the difference between the two?
Well, I know reasonable suspicion is they have to articulate what crime is being committed.
Say it again.
For reasonable suspicion, they have to articulate what crime has been committed.
Almost about 80% there.
They have to know what crime that you are about to commit, have committed, or going to commit.
Yes, about what crime, and the proper words of what crime they suspect you of committing, having committed, or about to.
Gotcha.
So it's very important to know that. So we're gonna see a few more videos of that today, and then we're gonna see the difference in people who sort of know the law. And the funny thing is, when you even sort of know the law, the police, they act differently. They act completely different when they know, or they just suspect that you may know a little bit of law, and especially when you're recording, and then you may know a little bit of law, because if you get them on camera violating any law, that's their ass, and they know that. So We're gonna see a couple of videos. And then you're gonna see white privilege though. We're also gonna see white privilege in full effect in a couple of these, and why you won't be able to do the same thing that this dude did. Let me share the screen. Hold on. Can't believe they killed Kobe. Bitch ass niggas.
You think they killed Kobe?
Hell yeah, they killed Kobe. Shit. I
Well,
mean,
for the
Kobe spoke it up. Kobe spoke up his own death, which enabled him to be able to do it. It's like you have power over yourself. Like it's not so like if he wasn't, talking about dying young and shit for years on end and thinking about it and visualizing it, they probably wouldn't have been able to do it. But his dumb ass.
It's the same way with Tupac.
Huh?
It's the same thing with Tupac.
Yeah, well, yeah, Tupac, yeah, he spoke up his own death too. That's why, and so did Biggie. All them niggas talk. When you speaking to the universe, when you start talking about that shit, they speak up their own deaths, and people act like you don't have power to do that type of shit. But it's insane. I mean, you're gods, man. Especially when you're melanated, you're powerful motherfuckers. You are connected. You are literally plugged in. So when you're a powerful motherfucker and you, excuse me, when you start speaking that stuff up into the universe and you really feel it, like you feel that shit and you visualizing it and shit, you're creating a blueprint for the universe to be like, all right, let me let me get my dude what he wants. But yeah, I definitely think they killed Kobe. Some shit's getting ready to go down, this year. So, it's when they do their rituals, Kobe was a big figure. So for them to sacrifice somebody that big, that mean they got some big shit getting ready to go down. So just pay attention this whole year. When the year is over, you're gonna be like, God damn. That's what happened. That's what they used Kobe energy for. But you already see that the distraction was so big, no one heard about the impeachment that Trump got acquitted. Nobody really gave a shit about that. Another distraction. So they got the coronavirus. That's another distraction. The coronavirus been around forever. They got the coronavirus on the back of Lysol cans years ago. This is one of the viruses Lysol kills. The coronavirus. And that shit's been on the back of the Lysol can for years. Now they got your coronavirus. Oh my God. So yeah. They killed Kobe for whatever shit they getting ready to go down. And I definitely think LeBron was indirectly involved. But let's keep it pushing. So these are different scenarios of reasonable suspicion. So we're gonna go over a couple more, and also we went over some bond information last time too. So we'll get into that a little bit more as well. But so let me do this. This is a dude that was wearing a mask, and he was walking. He was taking pictures, and so the funny thing is, like there's this major movement going on right now about the audit movement, is what it's called. So if you type audit into YouTube, you'll find a lot of channels. Now, most of them ain't really that good because most of them are just cats who probably they've been studying them. I can tell from, about the way they talk about the law, they've only been studying for a couple years, and then they go out and then, they try to assert the law. Or what they're doing is making the public officials who have to abide by the law, they're making them aware of the laws that they have to abide by. Because most of the time, people get, these secure city jobs and government jobs and just think, oh, this is the cushy job. I really don't have any responsibilities, you know, other than to my superior for this job. And you don't. And you work when you work for the city or the government, you work for the people, actually. And so the people actually have the first say. So there's some cats who go around, you know, walking through city halls, recording, and then get the police called on them, and then they have to check the police and let them know that, you know, recording in a public place is not illegal. And so, you know, so if you want to, you know, you get up on laws and stuff like that, you definitely should be studying those different channels. But for the most part, most of them don't know how to break down the law because they're not lawyers. This is probably the only guy, this channel and the News Now channel. Those are probably the only two channels that really break down the law when they're dissecting the interaction between the police officer and the citizen. But let's peep game. Oh wait.
In the info card above, it is difficult to say whether 10 points actions satisfied the reasonable suspicion.
You know, there's a YouTube app that you can buy that'll block the it'll block the commercials. Shit is $7.
In the info card above, welcome. Journalist has its financial ups and conducted a first.
All right, here one.
Take your first survey. Thanks again to Point Club for sponsoring this video. On January 23rd, 2020, YouTuber 10 Point Program 703 conducted a First Amendment audit on a public sidewalk in Prince William County, Virginia. After spending approximately 2 hours taking photos of various county-owned vehicles and property, 10 Point Program is contacted by Officer Walsh of the Prince William County Police Department.
How you doing? Do you have ID on you? How you doing, sir? Do you have ID on you? Sir, do you have ID on you?
Please don't impede my way of walking, please.
No, sir. You're taking pictures of everybody? I need to see some ID.
All right. So you're impeding my way of walking.
Do you have ID on you, sir?
You're impeding my way of walking.
I understand that. I need to see your ID, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, I need to see your ID. Sir, I need to see your ID.
I'm not giving any ID, sir.
You're taking pictures of county vehicles? I need to see your ID, sir.
Okay. So what is illegal about being a photographer?
No. You're being a photographer. I don't know I don't know what the purposes of your pictures of county vehicles are for.
So
you were at the courthouse yesterday taking photos as well, right?
What is the purpose?
Can I see your ID, sir?
I don't have an ID on me, sir.
You have nothing on you?
You're impeding my way. I would like to
No, you can't right now.
And what is the reason why I can't go?
I just need to talk to you real quick because you're taking pictures of county
talking.
complex.
I don't want to talk anymore.
Then you need to stand right here while make sure that you're not wanted for something. How about that? Stand right here for me. Please don't move. Sir, stay right here for me.
Look at the brother.
Okay.
Notice that Officer Walsh states that the reason for contact is because of 10 Point's photography.
Now, hold on. Before he answers, before he answers, but before he gives his breakdown of what's getting ready to go down, do they have the right to walk up on him? Oh wait, well, damn it. There's a part. Don't answer yet. There's a part in here that you actually need to know that actually makes it pertinent. Well, I guess you can see it in so he's walking around. I guess it's in the description. So he's walking around taking pictures and he's wearing a mask. Now, from that information, do they have the right to stop him or no?
Yes.
Anybody not named Mel, correct?
No, you can answer me.
Yeah, they do.
Why? Wait first, Matt. Everybody answer. Go ahead, Mark. You about to answer?
Yeah, I agree.
That was my question on why, because I'll just wait for the answer.
Jason?
I say yeah.
Why? Now you've seen other videos that I've shown where the dude is recording the police station. I got that in the Kung Fu of Law videos at the very beginning. That dude is recording the police station, and he handles them police officers saying, "Yes, I have the right to record in public. I have the right to record public property."
Right.
So, with that being said, now this dude is doing the exact same thing. Do they have the authority to walk up to him and detain him for questioning?
They can't detain him, but they can come talk to him.
Well, when they walk up to you and they stop you and they start talking to you, investigating, that's a detainment. That's being detained. Any movement that's not of your own, that they tell you that's not of your own, is being detained. So
Nah, they can't detain him. He hasn't done anything. Why are they detaining him?
what are the reasons for them to be able to detain you? Or to investigate, to do an investigatory stop?
Suspicion. Reasonable suspicion.
Okay. So with that, with all of that info, do you guys stick with your answer before I push play on this?
Okay. As far as just the recording of the county vehicles and buildings, no. But when you bring the mask into play, that's a whole different ball game.
Good answer.
Okay.
Notice that Officer Walsh states that the reason for contact is because of 10 Point's photography. While it has been clearly established that photographing government buildings is not a crime, it can still be considered suspicious activity in certain circumstances and warrant an investigation by an officer. It is a common misconception that officers must be able to articulate a specific crime they suspect is being committed in order to detain a citizen. The Terry v. Ohio case, which has served as the pinnacle doctrine for police interactions and reasonable suspicion, dictates that an officer must be able to articulate specific and objective facts which lead the officer to suspect that some criminal activity is occurring or has occurred. Under the Terry doctrine, courts consider the totality of circumstances involved in any police interaction to determine whether an officer's detention was reasonable. I have made a video which explains reasonable suspicion in more detail, which I will link in the info card above. It is difficult to say whether 10 Point's actions.
So from what he just said right there, if an officer walks up to you and wants to engage you in questioning about something, what is your response?
What crime do you expect me of committing or about to commit?
Is he speaking for everybody?
Can he articulate facts or why the detention is reasonable?
Say it again.
The officer has to articulate facts or why the detainment is reasonable.
Anyone else?
Well,
I would.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I guess the first question would be, am I being detained? Even though they walked the point, you still ask the question.
All of you are sort of right. But again, we learned in law, you need to be right and correct. So the reason that you guys see how you guys are fumbling in your voice and you don't really know, the police officers would have hit y'all up by now. Y'all niggas would have been y'all would have been him the fuck up because they would have gave you a rebuttal and you were telling the truth or not. Because y'all don't know if y'all know what y'all saying is correct.
I'll just yell out, "I'm pulling you behind," and then he.
Now that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, so Jason, you were right. Yeah, you suspect me of committing. Do you suspect me of committing a crime, or do you suspect me of committing a crime, about to commit, or have committed a crime? And then they don't have to tell you. So if they say yeah, what is your response? I'm going with Jason since you said that first.
I'll say, well, what crime is it? What's the law? Or am I being detained?
No. If you say you suspect me of committing a crime, you suspect me of having committed, about to commit, or are committing, or in the middle of committing a crime. What is it? Now you said you suspect me of that, and they say yes. What is your response after that?
What articulable facts do you have? Or what is your reasonable suspicion?
Say it again.
What's your reasonable suspicion, or what facts can you articulate suspecting me of committing or about to commit or a crime?
What led you to your suspicion? What facts led you to your suspicion to believe that I was about to commit a crime? So they don't have to tell you what crime you're about to commit. They just have to tell you. So I'll give you an example. If I walk up to you, if I'm a police officer and I walk up to you and you start fidgeting and sweating, I don't know if you're about to commit a crime or not. You just look suspicious. So I'm about to be like, yeah, what's happening? What's your name? You got some ID? And you say what?
No, I don't have my ID on me.
What's your name?
Jason.
Jason what?
Do we got to give them our last name? Sure or not?
Can anybody answer that for him?
I would say no. Just give him the first name has identified yourself. He doesn't need ID or need to know your last name at this point.
Anyone else? Are they right? Hello? Somebody?
No, you don't. Isn't there a Supreme Court that you don't have to? Well, do you have to identify yourself? Because it's stopping to identify state.
All y'all in the back of the goddamn car right now. I'm taking all y'all niggas in jail. Every last one of you niggas. What did Denzel say? I'm opening up cases on all you niggas. Look here, man. When they ask you for your ID, you say no, you don't have to give them ID, and they say, what's your name? And you say Jason, right? And then they say, Jason what? And you say, and then your response was what? Give me that response again.
I'm thinking I don't have to give them my last name.
Of course you do.
What?
Yes. That's what identifying is. Nigga, you could be motherfucking Jason Derulo, nigga. How the fuck do I? Fuck, maybe Jason Voorhees, nigga. What the fuck? Yes, you got to give me your full name.
All right.
And usually the date of birth if they ask you your date of birth. But you don't have to show ID. Now, do you have to give them the right one? Do you have to give them your correct one? I suggest you do. Because
Yes.
if they run it and they find that, you know what I'm saying, that ain't you, then you fuck. So, yes, you do have, so when they walk up to you really quickly, Mel, the mask creates special circumstances which allows them or gave them the grounds of suspicion, which is they're about to tell you right now.
Satisfied the reasonable suspicion or explains reasonable suspicion in more detail, which I will link. I have made a video which explains reasonable suspicion in more detail, which I will link in the info card above. It is difficult to say whether 10 Point's actions satisfied the reasonable suspicion requirements of the Terry Doctrine, and courts generally consider interactions involving illegal detentions on a case-by-case basis.
What am I being detained for, sir?
You're taking pictures of county vehicles and county buildings.
Okay, so is that a crime?
Right now, you need to identify yourself to the police. If we're stopping to talk to you, yes, you need to identify yourself to me.
Is that a crime?
You need to identify yourself to me.
So
that's going to be a crime.
let me get your ID where you live at, and then let me.
I'm not going to tell you where I live.
Then why should I tell you where I live?
Because I am stopping to talk to you. I need to see your ID.
So you just stop and ID
You're
people
taking photos of government buildings and
and
government property.
okay,
So I need to see your ID.
all right, and that's a crime.
I need to see your ID to figure out who you are.
All right,
And plus, you're covering your face in a public place.
Virginia Code 18.2-422 prohibits the wearing of masks in certain places, which includes any public place. You may be thinking, what about the motorcycle officer on the scene? And 10 Point made the same observation. But the law excludes masks worn by those who are engaged in professions where wearing protective masks are deemed necessary for the physical safety of the wearer. It is likely that most courts would agree that the motorcycle officer's mask would fall under this exception. The history of anti-mask laws stretches back to the mid-1800s, where in 1845, the state of New York legislated against appearing, quote, disguised and armed. But most anti-mask laws were enacted in response to the activities of the Ku Klux Klan, and much of the relevant case law has rendered mixed results. For example, in the 1999 Indiana District Court case of American Knights of the Ku Klux Klan v. City of Goshen, members of the Klan argued that removal of their mask would subject them to harassment and thus hinder their ability to advocate for their cause. The court ruled in favor of the Klan and struck down the City of Goshen's anti-mask law. But 5 years later, the Second Circuit Court held that harassment of Klan members was irrelevant because the Constitution guarantees only the right to speak, not the conditions under which one speaks, in the case of Church of the American Knights of the KKK v. Carrick. In most anti-mask cases involving the KKK, courts have held that protecting citizens from the Klan's intimidation was a more compelling state interest than preserving the identity of Klan members. Anti-mask cases not involving the KKK have had a more favorable response from the courts, but most anti-mask laws are careful to use neutral language that avoids targeting specific groups explicitly. Approximately 15 states and countless counties and municipalities have anti-mask laws on the books, many of which have not been challenged in court. Given the recent higher court trend of upholding anti-mask laws, it is likely that Virginia Code 18.2-422 would be ruled constitutional if challenged. But whether or not 10 Point is actually in violation of the code is questionable. Nonetheless, the code does provide the officers with reasonable suspicion to detain and identify 10 Point, and after a lengthy banter between 10 Point and Officer
Good call, Mel.
Walsh, eventually Officer Gardner arrives on the scene and expresses his concerns.
I'm Officer Gardner.
So you understand our concern today?
I don't understand your
Okay.
concern,
So
sir.
what were you? I missed the beginning of it, so I don't want to say third party, what was your purpose for being out here today?
I'm just taking pictures.
Okay. What are you taking pictures of?
I'm just taking pictures.
Okay. You're just out taking pictures?
Correct.
Is there for any reason?
For my own use.
For your own use?
Yes.
Okay. So we talked to our supervisor. They told you about the mask, so that's why you can understand our concern, right? When people are out taking pictures of government cruisers, you can understand as law enforcement why we get concerned about that, right?
No.
You don't see why
You don't see any concern in that?
Now, see, he's being disingenuous. See, there's a balance with this, man. You just can't act like there's no reason ever for police to be able to talk to you at all. Like, there may be, you have to evaluate the situation. Damn, was this suspicious? Damn, this might have been suspicious. Even though you might have just been doing some shit, minding your own business, it could be suspicious activity suspicious looking activity to a police officer. So you just can't get irate and mad right off the bat when they walk up and talk to you. You got to pause for a second and think, damn, whatever I was doing, was that suspicious? Or would I take it as being suspicious? Just walking down the street, like, man, that fool look like what is he doing? Like that type of stuff. Like you look at somebody and they don't look like they're doing something normal. Like, what the hell is he doing? You know what I'm saying? So you have to think like that. This dude is just trying to act like my rights are above all things, and no matter what, you don't have the right to talk to me unless I basically shot somebody in the middle of the street. No, motherfucker, they don't have to wait for you to shoot someone in the middle of the street. That's the wrong that you know what I'm saying? Then what are they there for? Clean up? They're supposed to prevent this shit.
There's an old saying, your rights end where mine begin, I believe it goes.
Right. And so, everyone, that's the whole point of living within a society. That's the whole point of laws. Remember, laws or your rights are how your freedoms are organized. So you don't run into everybody else's freedom. And so him walking down the street, especially in a terrorist, age, we're in a terrorism age with a mask on, taking pictures of shit. He has to realize, and he has to be, honest about that. Looks suspicious. Like, dude, come on, you acting like, dude, come on, that looks suspicious. And so the police officers they gave them the leeway to do it.
No, I don't, sir.
Okay. Well, I think most people would probably agree that it's concerning if people are coming up and taking pictures, especially this day and age. And,
what do you mean by this day and age?
This day and age was like there's wars and stuff going on, and people plotting, and Boston Marathon bombings and stuff like that. So
the post 9/11 era ushered in a new dawn of civil vigilance, and terrorism dominated the airways of the 24-hour news cycle, of which many Americans have become accustomed to. The dominating syndicates of mass media have built a contextual narrative that suggests that terrorism is a prevalent threat to American citizens, and that all Americans should be aware of possible threats of terrorism and suspicious activity. Since the September 11th attacks, there have been around 75 documented terrorist attacks on American soil, resulting in approximately 253 deaths. Those attacks include the 2016 Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting and the recent El Paso Walmart attack. Those two instances alone make up 72 of the total deaths associated with domestic terrorism. Averaging those numbers over the 19-year span between now and 2001 results in about 4 attacks per year and 13 deaths. In a 2012 study, the CDC found that an average of 135 deaths per year can be attributed to non-venomous animals. Statistically speaking, farm animals pose a greater threat to Americans than domestic terrorists. Although these statistics do not shed light on the spectrum of circumstances surrounding domestic terrorism or non-venomous animal attacks,
That's a crazy stat, though, to be able to hit a police officer with when they try to act like you suspicious and we need to prevent terrorism. Oh, dude, what terrorism? Terrorism is running rampant, dude. And then you hit them with that stat of more people die from farm animal bites and diseases every year than terrorism. Stop playing.
Is to highlight the effects of mass paranoia and gaslighting tactics that mainstream Circumstances surrounding domestic terrorism or non-venomous animal attacks. The point is to highlight the effects of mass paranoia and gaslighting tactics that mainstream media outlets have consistently used to garner clicks and views throughout the years. Domestic terrorism is a serious concern, and remaining watchful for potential terrorist activity is a legitimate task undertaken by all members of law enforcement. But the fear tactics of American media outlets have in some instances eclipsed the liberty of law-abiding citizens to a concerning degree, and Americans must ask themselves where they draw the line between the freedoms protected under the Fourth Amendment and the potential threat of an attack. After Officer Gardner fails to reason with 10 Point, the commanding officer, Sergeant Hill, arrives on the scene and reiterates the concerns of the other officers.
I'm their supervisor.
How you doing today, sir?
So what is your intent and purpose of being on county property taking pictures?
I'm a photographer, and the last thing I knew, this is public property, correct?
It's public property,
Okay.
but let me just put it in perspective of the people that are calling in because they were concerned. They have a person that is masked. Yes, it is cold. They are taking pictures of the building. They're not sure if you're being a photographer or if you're person being a person that setting up for either an attack or whatever that should have.
Am I allowed to go?
No, you're under investigation right now, trying to
For
find
what
out why you're
crime?
doing it.
For what crimes?
Your suspicious activity.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's suspicious activity a crime. And Mr. Hill, is suspicious activity
Currently,
a crime?
you're detained because you're wearing a mask in public and refusing to identify yourself. Because right now,
Can somebody right there tell me? First of all, yes.
What's that? I didn't hear what you said.
So right there in this interaction, what just happened that tilted it in one direction or the other? What just happened? Or I'm trying to see if anybody recognizes it.
The guy told him that he was being detained because he's wearing that mask.
Yeah, but there was something that happened like right here where I just cut it off in that interaction. What just happened in that interaction?
Oh, he's moving towards him.
He was moving towards him, but the interaction, but I'm talking about the interaction specifically, the dialogue.
I don't know. I missed it.
Anyone else? This question was to everybody. It wasn't just to Jason.
No, I didn't catch.
I missed it? All right, I ain't gonna go back because we got a lot of videos to watch. Dude was calm the whole time, and they were calm. Soon as he raised his voice, the dude stepped over to him.
Yeah, escalation.
Immediately, soon as he started to raise his voice and get upset, which he had no reason to get upset, he could have just still remained calm and talked to him in a nice, respectable manner. He didn't have to do that at all. He was just getting mad now that they were, that they were still detaining him and not letting him go. Because he said, "Am I detained?" And they said, "No, we're investigating." And he got mad. And like, okay, dude, you know what I'm saying? You're pissed off, but you're not explaining your case well. well enough. You know what I'm saying? You don't know enough law well enough to be able to be let go. And you raising your voice ain't gonna that's not gonna do anything. All that's gonna do is make them want to kick into super cop mode and start slamming you all over the damn concrete. Because they're peace officers and they're taught to thwart aggression, any sign of aggression. That's why as soon as hey, calm down, calm down. As soon as you, and most officers, especially when they're talking to melanated people, when they sense a hint of aggression, they on you. So right off the bat, dude raised his voice, and that got homeboy on him. Now I'm gonna move past this. So what happened was because dude tells you the same thing. They eventually took him in. They put the cuffs on him and shit, but then they let him go after, you know, they got all of his information. But again, you know, every situation is not the same. You have to evaluate each situation differently. And then before you speak, you know, you need to ask yourself, was what I, you know, or whatever I was doing, did that look suspicious? Would I have taken it as suspicious if I was looking at me from across the street or around the corner or something like that? Because a lot of times, you know, the police officers aren't picking on you. That's just I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. They're police officers. They're taught to look for suspicious shit. So, you know, and a lot of times in those aspects, melanated people are more afraid of police officers. So their actions look more suspicious because they start, you know, you get fidgety, you start walking in a different direction, which is not illegal. And you should be able to know how to articulate that to a police officer, that walking in a different direction when you see a police officer is not illegal. Running is suspicious. Walking a different direction is not. You could have forgotten something at home. Who knows? Anything. You want to go another direction. Oh damn! You got to call for a booty call. Like, anything could happen. So it's not illegal to turn around when you see a police officer and go a different direction. But it is illegal to run. Yeah, what's up, man?
Now, the cat that's being detained right now, is there any evidence that he's aware that the mask is against the law in the city that he's in? Or
it's not against the law necessarily. It's just cause for suspicion. And so it's not illegal for you to walk around in a mask, but it is cause for suspicious activity. It's cold. You know what I'm saying? They sell ski masks. You know what I'm saying? It's not illegal for you to wear a mask, but it is cause for it can be placed along with other circumstances to arrive at a suspicious activity conclusion.
okay.
So the mask itself is not. He could just walk down the street and just walk with a mask and been fine. But you have a mask and you're taking pictures of, you know, a public building or a police officer's building or whatever the building it was. All right, so that was that one. So this is DUI checkpoints, because we're gonna get into another. Actually, let me get into that first, because I'll get to the DUI checkpoint after. So this is a brother who was just jogging. This dude is funny. This is actually how you probably should handle a stop. So pay close attention to this dude.
The mission of We Don't Waste is recovering unused food and distributing to those people who are less fortunate.
Let's dive right between officers and their community and stop and identify states, and comes to us from the Free Thought Project's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Let's dive right in and audit the interaction. This video, originally posted in 2015, shows jogger and father of 3 Corey Dickerson resting under a streetlight during a late night run, where he was contacted by Officer Kenneth Price of the Talladega Police Department in Talladega, Alabama.
Well, I live in Talladega.
Get off work, or what are you doing?
Have I done anything wrong, first of all?
Well, no, we have to ask that, because see, at night we have to check. We've got a lot of burglaries and theft, stuff like that going on. We don't know who you are.
Oh, well, I'm nobody. I'm nobody.
You see, look at our job, our points. We don't know what you got out here.
Right now, I'm just minding my own.
Where are you going?
Nowhere in particular.
Nowhere in particular. Looks like you've been running. You've been running?
Yeah.
You've been running from?
Just around.
Just around.
Yeah. Yeah. Nowhere in particular. I do.
Do you see how he answers those questions?
Yep. He's answering him, but he ain't really telling them shit.
Right. He's answering them, but he's not really telling them shit. Very good though. He's like, look, he's not being I'll just, just around. Just, I ain't gotta tell you exactly where I'm going. That's not. And see, that's what most people think. When the police officer asks you that you have to actually tell them some shit. You don't. That's not your business.
Corey. Yeah. Well, looks like I'm about to get harassed. Huh? I'd rather stand in front of your police car. So, Fred, I'd rather stand in front of your camera. Yeah, I just would like to let you know that I am recording. Okay. And as soon as this video starts recording, it automatically uploads. So.
Hey, look. Hey, my camera does the same thing.
Yeah.
And you can tell them why I stopped you. It is 12:30 in the morning.
All right.
I've got a lot of burglaries and thefts.
Uh-huh.
You can get this on camera.
All right.
Okay. So now I'm just asking you for your ID.
According to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center's program regarding the Fourth Amendment, actions that are unusual for the hour of the day may indicate possible criminal activity and can be used to support a Terry stop. What might otherwise be considered innocent conduct may form the basis for reasonable suspicion to stop and investigate in a location that is unusual for the time of day or in a location that has a documented history of being a high crime area. In the 2016 Fifth Circuit court case of U.S. v. Spears, the court noted that while a person's presence in an area known to be high in crime is a relevant contextual consideration in the reasonable suspicion analysis, such presence standing alone is not enough to support a reasonable suspicion that anybody found there is involved with crime, which suggests that any one of these factors Officer Price mentioned do not constitute reasonable suspicion. However, the 2016 Eighth Circuit court case of U.S. v. Quinn reaffirmed the notion that an officer may have reasonable suspicion to conduct a Terry stop based on a combination of factors, even when no single factor considered alone would justify a stop. Therefore, most courts would probably agree that the combination of factors listed by Officer Price would amount to reasonable suspicion and justify the officer's stop.
Yeah, well.
What is your name?
Am I suspected of being?
What is your name?
Corp.
Why does he look suspicious?
Running late at night in a high crime area.
Oh, what he claims to be a high crime area.
Yeah, supposedly a high crime.
Yeah, what they said. Yeah, they said it. But yeah, at that time of morning, running at that time of morning. Now, was he running when the popo rolled up?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So, let's keep watching.
Corey, what?
Right now, I prefer to just go by Corey.
No ID on you?
I do, but. Am I being detained, sir? Am I being detained, sir?
Yes, sir. And you can get that on camera, too.
Well.
Now, I promise you, this motherfucker racist. That's 99.9% sure that this nigga is racist. You see how he talk? You make sure you get that on camera too. You probably want to put a boy right after that. You get that on camera too, boy.
It's Alabama for you.
Man. I promise you this motherfucker done say, he say nigga at least 20 times a day when niggas ain't, when other niggas ain't around.
Crime I suspected of committing.
I did anything to find out who you are and what you're doing. Do you understand that?
I do, but what crime am I what crime am I suspected of committing, sir?
You're not committing a crime. I just want to know what.
So am I free to go?
Yeah.
So you can guys.
This event is for people that want to get into real estate.
It wasn't just here's how to flip a house.
God damn.
Oh, you guys can detain me for anything whatsoever.
Contrary to popular belief, officers are not required to articulate a specific crime that they reasonably suspect is, has, or will be committed. The Terry ruling dictates that officers only need to articulate specific facts which justify their suspicion, not specific crimes. If an officer compiles a reasonable amount of objective facts which lead to the assumption that criminal activity may be present, then the officer has acquired reasonable suspicion and may conduct an investigatory stop to determine the specificity of the criminal behavior or lack thereof. Auditors often use the phrase, "What crime do you suspect me of committing?" as if a specific crime is required for detention, but that is not the case. A specific crime is only required in the event of an arrest, which is justified by probable cause, not reasonable suspicion.
Can I get your name, sir?
So when can they arrest you?
When they have probable cause.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Say what?
When they have probable cause.
What is that?
Probable cause is after they have reasonable suspicion and they've done their investigatory stop. If it shows
what constitutes probable cause.
that they have enough evidence to basically say that you've committed a crime.
But that was vague. What evidence? What is probable cause? Give me what would give a police officer probable cause?
Probable cause would be catching you in the act, or
probable cause would be, yeah, go ahead.
If you're running away from a scene where an act was committed.
Right. That's probable cause. That's actually reasonable suspicion.
If they actually see you commit a violation, that's probable cause for that particular violation.
Right. But if they don't see you commit, so both of the things you guys just said relies on firsthand information. So, or them being able to see you in the act. If they don't see you in the act, what can they compile that constitutes probable cause? Be able to take you in after they're investigating you under reasonable suspicion.
In the description of someone?
No, that's still reasonable suspicion to talk to you.
Witness statements.
So just be clear, you fitting the description of somebody is not probable cause enough for them to arrest you. You have to look like the person, you have to fit more of their description. Like you got to live near in the person's, coming out of the person's building, or You know what I'm saying? A whole lot of things have to coincide with you and that dude, not just you looking like somebody. This is a gang of people who look like a gang of people. You think they just started arresting a gang of people who look like killers, and you know what I'm saying, and felons. So no, that's just reasonable. And that's enough suspicion for them to stop you and be able to investigate further. So again, what gives them, what would constitute probable cause, or what type of things could constitute probable cause and give them reason to arrest you? For giving them the authority or right to arrest you.
Smelling drugs.
That's one.
Secure officer safety if they feel that you may harm them or there's a potential for them to be harmed.
What do you mean?
It might be more with the like a stop and frisk type of deal.
That's enough for them to arrest you. So no, that's not enough.
No.
An officer being scared. The Supreme Court has already ruled that an officer being scared is not enough for them to arrest you. Even if they think that fear may lead to violence, they still can't arrest you or do anything if they have to you have to do something.
Really?
Yeah. The nigga said and that's one I just read too. That's one I just read. They cannot do anything because they're scared, because they fear. Even if they believe that fear may lead to some action, they still can't do anything. But you don't know that. Wow. They act on their fear all the time, though. See? And you don't know.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing is acting on fear. But you don't know that they can't do that.
Because they do it.
But you can sue them motherfuckers for it every single time. If you didn't do anything, now you didn't make a move at all, and these niggas just start boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? Just talking crazy. Like even like if you just raised your voice to them and they started tripping because they were out of fear of you raising your voice was fear of you being confrontational, you getting confrontational. That they can't do that. Just read that. So probable cause. Y'all need to understand. Y'all better get down what probable cause is really quick, so y'all understand the difference between the two. Where they slap them cuffs on you, and knowing if they slap them cuffs on you without probable cause that they violated a constitutional right, and you can go after their bond. If you don't know that, then y'all have no remedy. So probable cause in a roundabout term is what? Mel kind of said it.
Have to have evidence or facts.
Evidence, but
that would corroborate.
Physical or circumstantial evidence is probable cause. So that's more roundabout because different courts have defined probable cause in different ways, but for the most part, it's physical or circumstantial evidence, meaning the officer have seen something, or you've acted in a way that leads them to believe that you committed a crime. And you act in such a suspicious way that you've led them to believe that you committed a crime, and that will get. And the courts have said that will give them a leeway to investigate further, which is probable cause. So
it has to be more than a hunch.
Right, more than a hunch. You got to actually have done something. Like they see something, like you moving real fidgety, nigga, on the side. If I stop you, and I'm just talking to the driver. And you know what I'm saying, you say the passenger is he keeps looking out the back of the window. He keeps looking out the back of the window, or he keeps he keeps looking over somewhere, or, he keeps looking down in the whatever, like shit like that. That would lead a police officer, because under normal police circumstances, and because this is what they say, that would lead a reasonable police officer, not a reasonable person, because police officers see things that we don't see on a normal basis. So would this lead a reasonable police officer, a reasonably thinking police officer, to believe that a crime is being committed? That's the terminology. So back to the thing.
My name is Officer Price. You can get that on video.
Price.
Price.
Do you have a badge number? Yeah, everything's going on video.
That's what we do all night. Not just you that we stop.
Well, it was a cop. That was a police. Matter of fact, that looks like him right there. I've seen him pass me twice, and he didn't have any reason to stop me. All right.
Okay. Now I've explained to you the reason why I stopped you. If everything comes back, I'll let you go.
And I'm pretty sure he seen me earlier, so I'm pretty sure he could tell you exactly what I was doing when he seen me.
This guy, apparently he was running. Standing over here. I was concerned about him. He wants to get us all on video. I explained to him why I stopped. He just goes back to one. No, he won't give me information. Maybe you can get something from him.
Sir.
I seen you running. You were over by Talladega Downs.
Right.
You was on the sidewalk then, though.
Yeah.
I did see him over on Talladega Downs. It was jogging. You were walking.
Now, I'll say this. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, hold on.
My person, then you started running.
Right.
But that was before he seen me and my girlfriend. All I see was from my.
I seen you turn, and I kept on jogging.
He was running. He was walking, then he ran. Then I made my turn. Then you saw something on my car. I didn't know I was police. But you gotta understand, whenever we're out here this late at night, something like that goes on, it's going to go into an investigation. I mean, it's not like it's gonna hurt nothing. I mean, all we're gonna do is just check your ID real quick.
Okay, but see, thing is, I don't know too much about the law. I'm not a lawyer. Ain't even pretend to be one. But I know that in order to detain me, you got to have some type of reasonable suspicion that I committed some type of crime. And you just invading my, I'm minding my own business out here. I'm literally jogging. I'm exercising. I'm trying to get
reasonable suspicion on this. Okay, the phone call. It's going to be the fact that you're running in a neighborhood.
He didn't even see me running. He literally seen me just standing right here. I was literally just bent over, this right here, catching my breath. He didn't see me running. He just stopped me, He just pulled over and just, Yeah.
So, was he doing whatever he was doing? Was that reasonable enough suspicion? Now that you know that the cop didn't see him running.
Nah, he black in Alabama and late at night.
Say it again.
He's melanated in Alabama late at night. He was just sitting there out of breath at 12, whatever in the morning.
What I'm saying is what he was doing at the time the police officer saw him and started to engage. Was what he was doing enough to warrant reasonable suspicion? He was just humped over, breathing hard, sweating.
He could have been checking up on him to make sure if he was all right, but not enough to say.
Detaining him. He was detaining him.
Oh, no. I don't think that's enough.
Because you see, they called this nigga called out like 10 more cops. He about to see in a minute, like a dude gonna take his camera and he's like, because more cops roll up. he gonna show the cops rolling up. But so you say no. So what he was doing doesn't warrant reasonable suspicion.
Nah, not that I see.
All right, is he right, y'all?
Nah, yeah.
You say yeah. You say he did warrant reasonable suspicion?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else, real quick?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You think what way? In what way? You think he didn't warrant reasonable suspicion? You with Jason?
I mean, I obviously didn't see how he was looking. We don't know if he was bending down, like he was trying to hide or not, have eye contact. But based on what I do see, I don't think he had reasonable suspicion to rule up on.
Right. Well, what the cop is trying to use is you running in this neighborhood at this time of night with high crime warrants reasonable suspicion. But homeboy just said, well, when he pulled me over, when he came up to me, I was just hunched over here, breathing hard, sweating. So now, does that warrant reasonable suspicion or no?
No.
No. Mel?
Nah, that didn't warrant reasonable suspicion, really.
Denzel? Oh, he just must be listening. You listening? You listening? You listening? All right. All right. So, again, what is reasonable suspicion?
Doing something out of the ordinary, something that's not normal.
Right, something that doesn't look normal, out of the ordinary, and it can be a confluence of the circumstances, right? So it can be, and it doesn't have to be more than two. It can be two things that coincide that can lead a police officer, to reasonable suspicion. So I'm gonna ask y'all one last time before I push play.
I got a quick question before you do that. So that's pretty vague, though, isn't it? Doesn't that reasonable suspicion, would that differ amongst different people according to how they see it?
It might, but it might, but it's not that. It's the circumstances. It's the confluence of things that are going on, the time of day. You know what I'm saying? The area you're in. Your demeanor. Your actions. All of these things can. Those things are necessarily based on the determination of the person. The time of day is the time of day. Like 12:30 in the morning is a suspicious time. You should be see niggas doing shit. That's just the fact of the matter. You know what I'm saying? Anybody would say that. So, but that alone, doesn't mean that you're doing something suspicious. It's just saying, most of the time, most people do their dirt in the day. That's just all that says. But people do. You got some night creepers who do their dirt at night. So, you can't. It's not illegal for you to be out at night doing things. But again, it's the confluence of circumstances. So all y'all said no, that he still don't warrant suspicion.
I said yes.
Oh, you said yeah. Okay. All right, here we go.
What suspicion am I? What suspicion do you have of me committing a crime? Like what have I done?
Let me tell you something.
I just don't like my rights being violated, man. That's it, man. That's it, man. I just like
violation of rights. I'll let you know real quick. So I'm not gonna be somebody stuff and trying to go. I'm about to jail or get sued or anything.
All right.
Go down to Talladega Downs and you ask any of the guys down there.
Another police car.
Straight four guys. I'm one of the nicest guys.
And you can ask anybody around me if they know Corey with dreads, and they'll tell you that he don't bother anybody, he don't talk to anybody.
I don't know you. You ain't never met me, have you?
Nah, you don't look familiar at all, Tim.
Not many people do know me around here. That's why I get out on people. I try to. Normally, you see me out with somebody, it's just me getting out, see a crowd on the walk, talk to them, get to know who they are, find out what they're doing. Just so whenever I know I'm getting my butt whooped one day, maybe somebody be inclined to help me out a little bit.
All right. I hear that.
And that's what I do. All he's out here doing is he's just trying to make sure. His thing is he likes to make sure nobody's house is getting broken into, and all this other stuff. And he don't know. He didn't know he was running. He just says, "Man, I hear just sweating. I want a business."
And I told him I was all right. So that should have been good enough reason for him to just go on, man.
Yeah. See, if I tell you something, are you going to automatically believe me every time
I don't believe anybody.
Exactly. We don't believe nobody. 9% of people we talk to lie to us about everything we talk about.
And that's why I didn't believe him when he said that he had reports of burglaries. I've lived over this side of town for 15 years. I haven't heard any burglaries.
Mr.
Commercial.
1 second I'm getting an MRI, and the next second, complete strangers are singing to you. Almost as if they were singing what they were all thinking out loud.
Mr. Dickerson makes the point that he doesn't trust anyone, and the officer agrees and says that he also does not trust anyone. Mr. Dickerson then brilliantly uses the officer's logic against him, justifying his skepticism of the officers. Why should Mr. Dickerson trust the intentions of the officers if they do not trust the intentions of Mr. Dickerson? This part of the interaction highlights a key element of the flawed relationship between law enforcement officers and their respective communities. Many members of law enforcement expect civilians to trust them based on the integrity of the reputation associated with police officers. Officers often see themselves and their departments as the good guys. However, the reputation of police officers as a whole has become increasingly fractured in recent years and is merely a shell of its former self. The digital era has brought about a level of transparency that has strained the relationship between pedestrians and the law enforcement community. Whether that strain is due to the inherent nature of police duties, a polarized political climate, or isolated incidents virally broadcasted is a question better left to sociological researchers. But one thing is for sure, the relationship between police officers and their communities has undergone a dramatic change, which has all but tarnished the reputation of law enforcement within certain segments of society.
Right off of right here, girl got her house kicked in twice in 1 month.
What name? What's her name?
Yeah, I can't remember her name. She's from Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
She moved down here about 2 months ago. Got her door kicked in twice in 1 month.
I don't know her. No, I don't know her, Dad. I probably would have heard that if I'd known.
Can somebody tell me, who's really being observant right now, what is the brother doing that he's doing really well in his interaction with the police officer?
He's remaining calm, even keel, and he hasn't really raised his voice that many times, but he
didn't raise his voice at all, not once.
Well, when he got louder, he kind of raised his voice, but that was just because he got louder.
Being excited, but yeah, not in anger.
Yeah, but other than that, he hasn't started flinging his hands around, making movements like he's pissed off or anything, or escalating anything.
That's one thing, but he's taking it even further. What else? What is he doing? Like, what really is he doing? You're right, he's being calm, but what really is he doing?
He's does BS about the high crime and like it's a dangerous area.
That's true.
Like,
I'm talking about his interaction with the police officers.
Well, he's keeping his hands probably where they can see him. So,
not the topic of what he's talking about. I'm talking about his demeanor.
He's being cooperative,
right? But what else? This is something that I've done, and when I've been pulled over by police officers most of the time, and every one of my interactions ended fine, except for the UCLA thing. But even then, when I had to get at them niggas with some law, and then they let me go. But go ahead.
He's keeping his hands where they can see him.
That's not a thing. I mean, that's the thing, but that's not what I mean.
You mean like being personable? Like,
yes, he's being personable. See how he's interacting with the police officers? See, most people don't understand, man. What messes you up at the very beginning of the stops usually is the fact that you're pissed that you're being profiled, or you're scared, or both. And then that fear and that anger leads you to, to have a standoffish interaction with the police officer, usually right off the bat, because then he's already going to be in asshole mode, because that's what they're taught. They're taught to be in asshole mode, or they're taught to get to asshole mode from 0 to 100 in 2.2 seconds. They taught to go from there, because a lot of times they will walk up and they'll be cordial. So when they're in that mode, in the cordial mode, like what Homeboy is doing, he's being very personable, but also light, and keeping it very light. You know what I'm saying? So like with the officers, so Homeboy, this dude doesn't seem like he's an asshole either. But even with the first officer, who was more of an asshole, he was very still calm with that dude and kept him kind of relaxed. Because you can tell that dude probably gets assholey with other niggas in other situations. Excuse me. So him being, him keeping it light and kind of comedic, and he gets more that way as the video goes on, but him doing that keeps them disarmed in a certain way.
They can.
Uh-huh.
I've been reading the Kabbalion, and he's kind of like changing the frequency.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Situation.
That's exactly what he's doing. He don't know he's doing it. I'm sure he knows that if I stay lighthearted and cool and funny, you know what I'm saying? It's better for me than not. But that's exactly on an esoteric level, on a scientific level. That's exactly what he's doing. He's changing the frequency there because they come with a certain energy, and then him acting a different way, it changes the whole frequency of the thing. Mel, do you want to say something?
No, you pretty much touched on it. I was gonna say that the way he's interacting with them is lowering their, I guess, defense level because they don't feel like that he's threatening them.
Right, he's a threat, exactly. Now he's not acting like no punk ass bitch though. See, that's the thing. He's not kissing their ass. He's still stern in his law. He holding his ground. He not letting them tell him this and that, but he's still keeping it light with him. So he's asserting his rights, but he's doing it in a way where it's not threatening, and got them all standoffish and going crazy. Now, is that a thing? Do you have to do it like that? No, you can motherfucking fuck you, cop. you can do it like that, but that's not the best way of the situation. Especially if you know your rights, you can definitely do that. If you know you're right about the law, you can definitely do that. But is it is it correct? You know what I'm saying? Are you in a position where this dude won't pull his gun and say, "Oh, he tripped," or and you stumble a certain way, and he acts like you tried to pull out a gun and shoot him. You know what I mean? You got to be smart about this. This thing, and you know what I'm saying. The best way usually is to be cool and relaxed about it, and then let the officer know in a calm manner that you do know about your rights. So I like how Homeboy did it. He said. And I'm sure Homeboy studies he studies the law a lot more than he let on. But he wanted to, he did it in a way to make it seem like I'm not flexing my intelligence on you police officers. I'm sure you guys know much more law than me. See how he went? He's like, I'm not a lawyer and don't even claim to be one. He said, but I do know that for y'all to do the whoop, y'all need to have some certainty. And then he started to assert his rights, the correct ones. So he takes their guard down by saying, like, look, I know, y'all, I'm sure y'all much smarter than me, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm just out here doing just jogging. Y'all do this every day. But I do know that for y'all to mess with me, this need to go down. And then he didn't move off of that block.
But that actually did happen. I had to go in there and clear it out for her because she was scared to death to go back inside her house when she got home and her door was wide open. I ain't gonna lie about that. We have had some burglaries, not many. Between the burglaries and the shooting and everything going on here.
I mean, I understand the shooting, but those what I understand was those was a whole bunch of little teenagers. I'm a grown man. I got 3 kids.
There's some adults mixed into it too.
I haven't heard
a whole
that.
list of everybody involved, and there's some adults.
Yeah.
Teenagers started it, but
yeah.
Yeah, you gotta understand when a teenager goes by and starts shooting up stuff, one of those adult houses starts up, and if he gets mad, he's gonna start retaliating too. And that's where our thing's going in. So it's a never-ending cycle. But all he's asking for is his name, date of birth. Make sure you ain't got no warrant for your arrest. I mean, tell me you're good enough citizen, you obey all the laws and everything.
I ain't say all that. I ain't say all that.
Not for kids. I hope you do.
I mean, I take care of mine. I mean, I ain't just 100%. Yeah.
Good Christian person.
Bro,
everybody got the flaws.
Right.
And that's all it's going down to. He just want to make sure you ain't got no active warrant to make sure there ain't no burglars. If there is one that pops up down the street, somebody's door got kicked in, we'll kind of know in the general area where to start looking. And that's all it's boiling down to.
I understand that, but at the same time, I really just don't want my rights violated, and I feel like my rights are being violated right now. Because I'm pretty sure that you guys are going to try to search me or whatever anyway, whether I give you permission or not.
A search.
And I also want to, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't trust police just because I got my hair pulled out, I was choked, tased, maced, beaten bloody. You hear me? Beaten bloody by 4 cops while I was in handcuffs.
Was it any of that stuff?
No, but that I don't. He looks familiar. He does look familiar.
He look familiar.
But like, I don't trust that. One bad applicant will spoil a whole bunch for me, you know. So
I'm gonna tell you this: if we want to search you, we're gonna do a weapon search. We're not gonna be going and everything else unless you tell us you want to do. Yeah, you got through my pockets, pull them out, do whatever you want to. We can search for weapons if we choose to. We're not pushing it that far yet. If he wants to push it far enough, he can even arrest you for failure to identify the law.
Is that a real law?
It's a real law.
I am going to look that up tonight if I don't go to jail.
Now he should have known that.
If you shop on Amazon, you should use Wiki.
Damn.
It's a browser extension that automatically compares Amazon's prices to other sellers.
This doesn't happen on Android.
Don't go to jail.
Alabama.
It happens on all YouTube. So he should have known that law. He should have known that right from the jump. I'm about to go down the line and ask each and every one of y'all, Mel, do you live in a stop and identify state?
Affirmative.
How do you know?
I looked it up. Georgia is a stop and identify state.
Amaru?
Yes, I do. I live in Alabama.
Live in Alabama? You looked it up?
Yes.
All right. If I asked you what that code was, would you know it?
No, I don't know the specific code.
That's one of the main ones you should know, because that's the very first interaction with you. Do they have the right to talk to you or not? That's every melanated person from as soon as you step out of the house should know that one. Does this police officer have the right or authority to interact with you right from the jump? You should absolutely know that and absolutely know where to go find it. Mark?
Yeah, I do.
Where you live?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, yep. Okay. Denzel? Denzel? Must be in the background. All right. Jason? You live in Texas, huh?
Nope.
Huh?
Nope. They ain't stopping to identify me. Not in Texas.
Are you sure about that?
Oh yeah.
You absolutely sure that you don't live in a stop and identify state?
Only if I'm under arrest. Penal Code 38.02.
Not wait. Only if you're under arrest.
That's it.
Okay. So we about to see.
One of 24 stop and identify.
You were right. Texas is not a stop and identify state.
Finally got one right.
So y'all pay attention. These are all the red is all the stop and identify states, and the yellow one is kind of in the middle. But it is just to be sure, it's on the safe side. It's a stop and identify state. So learn these. Crazy. Vegas, Arizona, all the states next to California, but California, Oregon, Washington. Nope. All up and down the coast. We good. But as soon as we get to this bitch, traveling through this bitch right here, till you get to Texas.
And that can change at any time, right?
What you say?
So that is subject to change according to the code.
That usually will change by legislation. They got to change by the laws. They got to make a law to change it. They just can't go in there. You know what? law has to be put up. That law has to be, a bill has to be put up, and then it has to be, it's, you know how to. You should know your government, how the government goes. Bills has to be, blam blam blam, accepted. Then it goes to the state senate, blam blam blam. Then it goes to the governor and he signs it. So go ahead.
It's funny because just because it's part of the South, you think Mississippi would be stop and identify as well as South Kakalaka and North Kakalaka, but they ain't.
Where Mississippi at on here? I don't know.
Mississippi right there to the right of Louisiana.
To the right of Louisiana? Right here?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I just knew that was going to be stop and identify.
I guess not.
But no, it's not. But yeah, I know.
Jersey? Jersey one?
Yeah.
That sucks.
You like Jersey and that's
New York.
That's all of York.
That's not New York. Wait, this is not. That's Jersey?
No, Jersey's right here, right above it. That's part of
where I got this right here on this red. That's Jersey right there. That's Jersey.
No, that's not Jersey. That's still part of York.
What? That's DC.
Oh,
yeah, DC. I mean,
oh, that's DC. Okay.
Yeah, right next to it is Jersey. Now that little red part sticking out, that's Strong Isle, and that's another part back there. Yeah, all that's York, and that little red part back there, I think it's York or that's Vermont, something like that. One of the two, but yeah.
Oh, that's great. Hey, damn, my family from Jersey too. I thought that was Jersey. Damn. All right.
Category codes that grant officers the authority.
If I don't go to jail.
Alabama is one of 24 stop and identify states which have statutory codes that grant officers the authority to demand identification from anyone they reasonably suspect has committed, is committing, or will commit a crime. Each of the 24 states have their own version of Alabama Code 15-5-30 with varying degrees of authority and specific language, but they all essentially work the same way. In states that have not adopted the stop and identify statute, officers may still conduct an investigation into suspicious activity and may detain individuals if the officer acquires reasonable suspicion, but officers may not demand identification until they obtain probable cause and make an arrest. Officer Price believes that he has reasonable suspicion, and according to Alabama Code 15-5-30, he does have the authority to demand to see Mr. Dickerson's ID and could potentially arrest Mr. Dickerson for failing to identify. Whether Officer Price's reasonable suspicion would hold up in a courtroom is questionable, but ultimately it would be left to a judge to decide.
Now, knowing that, he was wrong right from the bat, wasn't he?
Right.
He was wrong right from the jump. And he could that whole stop, had his demeanor been different, it's his demeanor that got him out of the stop. Not his knowledge of the law. Because as soon as he denied his ID, he broke the law when that cop rolled up on him. So again, this is why knowing the law and having a good demeanor are having good demeanor is just as important as knowing the law. Because a lot of these cops, they're looking for the asshole so they can jump. That's what they do. They roll around all the time with no action, and then they looking for some action. As soon as you start getting crazy, boom, they get it, bam, I'm in it. Hey, so you got to keep them disarmed. You know what I'm saying? You remain calm at all costs, no matter, even if they get irate and they start yelling, you bring them back down. Why you yelling, bro? Why you got? We good? Like, what's the problem? You bring them back down because they look stupid if they continue to be at an irate level when you're so calm, like you just took some fucking NyQuil or something. Somebody want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So as far as identifying, again, is it strictly first and last name or ID?
If depends on where you are. So if you're in a stop and identify state, it's ID. That's what a stop and identify state is. You have to show ID. So
okay.
under reasonable suspicion. So just so you're clear, anyone who's watching this after the class, stop and identify state means that under reasonable suspicion, you have to show your ID. Usually it's under probable cause. You have to show your ID. However, stop and identify states, reasonable suspicion is enough for you to have to show your ID.
Gotcha.
What time it is?
Ah,
Time
it's recording, right? It's still recording, man.
Last I checked, it was what, 12:20?
12.
Actually, so we don't see this. So his camera just stopped working. I think the battery ran out. It just shuts off like right in the middle. So we basically pretty much everything. It kind of cuts off like kind of right there. So I wanted to show y'all that because dude's demeanor is what got him the leeway. Because most brothers think that the cops are gonna just be jacking you up no matter what. And I wanted to show, like, man, if you remain cool and calm and chill, it disarms them in a way. You know, when they like, oh man, he cool. Like, damn, like what's going on, like, dude, you cool. When they get that feeling, so even there, and then always remember, a police officer has police discretion. So even if you did violate a crime, it's still under their discretion whether they let you go or not. They can do that. They don't have to take you in for violating a crime, no matter what it is, even if it's a felony. It's police discretion. They can still let you go. So, you know, but they might get fired if it goes down. If it's a murder or some shit, they do that. But you know, so again, I'm just getting back to your demeanor, because the only reason I'm saying that is because I know how many times I've had interactions with police officers, and it's been, you know, my demeanor that's disarmed them. You know, get to joking, talking funny to them, you know, and I know what I'm doing the whole time, because what they're trying to do is do it to me. But what they don't know is I'm a master of it. I've been doing it my whole life, disarming niggas. Like, you know, small talking, disarming people, getting them to move their focus to somewhere else so I can push this through or move that through. That's how I got my damn driver's license. I failed my eye test at the DMV and still walked out with a driver's license. So, because I was
what?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I failed my fucking, because I had, I wear contacts and shit. So that day my eyes were bad because my contacts were bad. And so I failed the test, and dude was like, he's like, yeah, man, you failed the eye test. So I was getting that dude before. I was talking to him, told him I was a trainer. We started talking about all this and that type of shit. So when I failed the eye test, he was like, you know what, man, just go. He's like, he stamped it. He was like, man, just going back there and take the test. he's like, going back there and take the test. And funny thing, the same time, so I went back to the thing to take the test, the written test. And this lady, this lady was back there. So when I walked in, I said a little joke to her, got her laughing a little bit. And so I took the test, and I actually failed the test. I missed more. You were only able to miss 3, and I missed 5. And so she was like, man, you failed. She's like, you failed the test. You got to come back. I was like, oh, what, you going to do me like that, girl? I was like, oh, I thought we was people. I came in. I thought we was good. When she started busting up and laughing, she was like, yeah, but no. She was like, you know what? All right, here, go ahead. Go ahead and take the damn. She's like, you passed. She just gave me the shit right there, right in front of her. I was like, yeah, that's what's up. So again, your demeanor can get you out of a lot of shit. Oh, DUI checkpoint. This is the last video we were working on. I'll show y'all some laws.
Okay, it's almost 2020. If you're still using regular toilet paper, what are you doing? You need to.
Before we get into the episode, sincerely appreciate all of into the episode. where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers DUI checkpoints, vehicle inspections, and firearms, and comes to us from Knowledge is Power's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Let's dive right in and audit the audit. On the night of February 20th, 2014, Auditor Ashton Wolin intentionally drove through a DUI checkpoint at the intersection of Dupree Road and King Arthur Drive in Woodstock, Georgia, where he was stopped by two unnamed Georgia State Patrol troopers.
Howdy. Going good. About yourself? I'm comfortable right there. What? I'm comfortable with it right there.
Comfortable with it right there?
Yes, sir.
Let me see your driver's license. Open the door, dude.
Open the door, dude.
You want to see backing on it?
What'd you say, sir? What did you say?
Because they can't hardly hear you. That's why. You roll the window down. We're just out looking for drunks, man. We're not here to hurt you or whatever.
That's fine.
Okay. Pull over on that side there. Just a minute.
For what reason do you have to detain me to pull me over into secondary, sir?
Pull over on the side so we can do a vehicle inspection right over
For what
there.
reason? Are you suspecting me of committing a crime?
Do what, buddy?
Have you suspected me of committing a crime?
The legalities surrounding DUI checkpoints vary wildly from state to state and are subject to both state and federal regulations, with some states, such as Idaho, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and others, banning them altogether. In the 1990 case of Michigan Department of State Police v. Sith, the Supreme Court held that DUI checkpoints were not in violation of the Fourth Amendment so long as they serve a specific governmental interest, are only minimally intrusive, and follow specific guidelines. Each police department is responsible for drafting their own policies regarding checkpoints, but must adhere to the minimum standards set forth by both federal and state law. A question often asked regarding checkpoints is whether or not it is legal to turn away from a checkpoint and avoid going through it. There are no laws which prohibit citizens from avoiding a roadblock, and the act of turning away from a roadblock cannot serve as reasonable suspicion for a traffic stop so long as no traffic infractions occurred. The 1993.
Hope y'all got that. Running away from a traffic stop point is not reasonable, or not, excuse me, is not enough reasonable suspicion to stop you.
Unless a traffic violation occurred.
Yeah, unless like if you U-turned out of it and the U-turn was illegal, then they can stop you. That's what.
Case of Jorgensen v. State and the 2004 case of State v. Hester addressed this issue in the state of Georgia and held that a crime must be suspected in order to stop a motorist, and that the act of turning away from a roadblock is not a crime.
Well, is there anything wrong with the car that we need to know about?
Not that I know, sir.
Okay. All right.
They're looking what? Almost illegal. All right.
This nigga just about, your tires are looking low. Let me look at your tires. And they looking illegal. He said your tires are looking illegal. Y'all have got to know when they pull this bullshit. Your tires are
unreasonable.
Man, your tires are looking fucking. How do you know that, nigga? Are you an expert tire gauger, nigga? You got a certificate in tire gauging?
Look, man, I watched Vinny and Me.
What class?
I know.
Yeah, what class is that in the police academy, nigga? Tire gauging. Because I want to know. I might be interested in taking that. Oh, shit.
Classic.
Where would you like me to pull? Where would you like me to pull over? Behind that one? So I'm being pulled into secondary because my tires might be illegal. That's interesting.
Georgia Vehicle Code 40-8-74 states that vehicles traveling on the roadway should have rubber on its entire traction surface at least 1 inch thick above the edge of the flange on the entire periphery, and at least 1/16 inch tread in all major grooves on the vehicle, and 1/8 inch tread in all major grooves on the front tires. The trooper's statement that the tires seem almost illegal could be valid if the tread on the tires is significantly low. That being said, An eye test alone would not serve as sufficient evidence that a vehicle's tires tread is illegally low. In order for an officer to cite a citizen under Code 40-8-74, the officer would need to measure the tire's tread. Whether or not the tire tread is a valid reason for furthering the detention of Mr. Wolin is covered later in this episode.
So remember that. A nigga tried to tell you that your tires look low, he got to measure. You can't do it from sight. Law says you got to measure, nigga, with a gauge. You got to gauge my tire, nigga. So don't let him get you with the bull crap.
Everything correct on your license, still live the same address?
I do, sir.
Sit down for me, okay?
Put in my car and park. Yes, sir. What does that mean?
What does it mean?
Yes, sir.
He wants to see your tire out here, man. It's slick.
I'd prefer to not get out of my vehicle.
I think it is.
He wants to see you they were slick out here. Your safety, that way you can see about getting another tire. That's it.
Let me ask you something. Are you scared?
To get out of my vehicle? Yes, sir.
You are?
Yes, sir.
Why are you scared of the law?
I'm not scared of the law.
Where are you hiding from?
I'm not hiding from anything, sir.
Okay, well, why are you scared to get out?
Because I feel safer.
You scared of the dark?
Maybe.
Huh?
I might be.
Yeah, I believe you are. Grown man scared of the dark. That sounds kind of funny to me.
Sounds funny.
Here, Mr. Wolin intelligently responds to the trooper's unprofessional attempt to instigate a reaction by surrendering the conversational dominance to the trooper. Remaining calm and not allowing an officer's conduct to dictate your own emotions can serve to de-escalate the encounter and strengthen your case in a courtroom. It is difficult to see, but Mr. Wolin has a firearm in the holster on his hip that he does not inform the officers of at any point during the interaction. While it is a common misconception that citizens are required to disclose their possession of a firearm, it is never a good idea to conceal a firearm from a police officer, especially during a traffic stop where you may be reaching into your center console or glove box to retrieve documentation. If at any point an officer perceives a potential threat, regardless of the true intentions of the suspect, it will only escalate the encounter and could result in the use of deadly force. Considering the skewed nature of the justice system, the use of deadly force may be ultimately considered justified. The case of Philando Castile, who was killed by an officer after peacefully disclosing the fact that he had a legal firearm, is a prime example of the grimmest of outcomes regarding firearms and traffic stops. The officer who shot Mr. Castile was arrested, but eventually acquitted of all charges. No exercise of rights is worth risking your life for, and Mr. Wolin's decision to open carry a firearm into a roadblock was reckless and foolish.
And what else was it? Him being able, this Caucasian, being able to roll through a roadblock, first of all, roll down his window halfway, just an inch, and the police officer not really tripped. All they did was pull him over to a harder inspection. On the passenger side, where this gun is, where you can see it, on his hip, did nothing. What is that called?
Caucasian-y privilege.
Yep. Caucasian-y privilege.
Only afforded to Caucasian-y persons.
A nigga would have been dead.
Yeah.
A nigga would have been dead. They would have perceived him halfway, him barely rolling his window down as aggression. And then they would have been on heightened aggression mode. Then pulling him over, trying to get him, jacking him out of the car. Get out of the car. We said get out of the car. Woo woo. As soon as he probably got out of the car, they would have saw that gun on him, and who knows what happened. So again, you have to be smart. All laws don't work for everybody the same way. He was able to do that. You ain't gonna be able to do that. Do not do that.
How about hit your blinkers on? Turn your right blinker on.
Turn your right blinker on.
I have no need to turn my blinkers on right now. I have no need to turn my blinkers on right now.
He's doing a vehicle inspection. He wants to check your vehicle. Turn your right blinker on. Thank you. Turn your left blinker on. Hit your brakes. Tap your brakes. Put your car in reverse and make sure your backup lights are working. All right, put it back far. We'll come around to the front. Check the front blinkers now.
Inside lane, they can do that.
Yes, sir.
The Georgia Department of Public Safety's policy on the use of roadblocks states that roadblocks must be implemented for a legitimate primary purpose, which is to monitor and check driver's licenses, driver condition, vehicle registration, vehicle equipment, and other requirements of the Georgia Motor Vehicle and Traffic Code, or to locate a suspected criminal likely to be in the area, and that the purpose cannot be general crime detection. While the troopers initially stated that the purpose of the checkpoint was targeted at drunk drivers, the troopers are still within their authority to inspect any vehicle traveling through the checkpoint for equipment malfunctions and general safety hazards. However, the GTPS's policy also requires roadblocks to be clearly identified as a checkpoint, and according to Mr. Wolin, that was not the case. Another interesting fact is that the troopers never asked Mr. Wolin if he had been drinking or attempted to ascertain his level of sobriety at any point during the interaction.
I see this vehicle out on the road again.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna stop it just because that tire on the right front.
Tire on the right front.
Very close.
In what way? So I can change it?
Needs tire replace.
Tire replace?
Yeah, you don't
Cuts
know
too thin?
Mike Freeman, do you?
Who?
Who's Mike Freeman?
Not that I know of.
You don't know him. Remember riding you for 84 and 65?
Yes, sir.
On 575? Who might scared to get out now? Look at that.
No,
tire.
he was very professional. I actually had a good encounter. All right, so I guess I'm free to go. I should have asked for name and badge number, but they did the hand the license as he walked away kind of thing, so I was not able to do so.
After all of the threats of citation and intimidation, Mr. Wolin was allowed to leave the scene without further incident and without being ticketed. This was Mr. Wolin's first audit, and although he claimed that he would be conducting audits on a regular basis, after posting only 10 videos, he has since abandoned his YouTube channel. The whereabouts of Mr. Wolin are unclear, and this interaction took place at a time where constitutional activism and recording police interactions was still a relatively new concept. Following
So he basically said Homeboy was on a radio show and he just talked about it one time. That was the only time he was heard from again after this video. Actually, I got one more video. So this is if you're a passenger, but it has a lot of other stuff involved.
When you think of account finance, what comes to mind?
Yeah, ruining everything with commercials.
Welcome to Audit the Audit. Are you required to show your ID authority during a traffic stop? Do you have rights as a passenger during a traffic stop? Are you required to show your ID if you aren't driving? Can a passenger refuse a sobriety test? Let's dive right in and explore the laws. Citizens of the United States are endowed with the unalienable and constitutionally protected right to travel freely without the burden of government interference. As early as the drafting of the Articles of Confederation, Congress acknowledged the fundamental right to freedom of movement, but it wasn't until 1868 that the Supreme Court officially recognized the freedom of movement as a fundamental right and ruled that states could not inhibit individuals leaving a state by taxing them in the case of Crandall v. Nevada. Although the Crandall ruling recognized the freedom of movement as a fundamental right, it did not grant the right constitutional protection. Several years later, the 1920 case of Wheeler v. United States located the right to travel in the Privileges and Immunities Clause of the Constitution and granted the right constitutional protection, but also ruled that the Constitution did not grant the federal government the power to protect the freedom of movement. In the following years, the Supreme Court began to reject the rulings of the Wheeler case and eventually ruled that the federal government did have the authority to protect the right to freedom of movement in the 1966 case of United States v. Guest. The Supreme Court has specifically ruled that the constitutionally protected right to freedom of movement does not imply a right to use any particular mode of travel, such as a motor vehicle. In the 1915 case of Hendrick v. Maryland, the court unanimously held that in the absence of national legislation covering the subject, a state may rightfully prescribe uniform regulations necessary for public safety and order in respect to the operation upon its highways of all motor vehicles, those moving in interstate commerce, as well as others. This ruling essentially empowered states to dictate their own legislation and enforcement regarding the use of its public roadways.
But this is not true though. There are older laws that regarding that deal with travel, as far as the Supreme Court, that overrides what they're talking about right here. So there are Supreme Courts that deal with your right to travel along the highways and byways of the United States. So he's not correct in that aspect as far as the law that deals with that. Because I literally have like cases upon cases upon cases that deal with the right to travel from the Supreme Court that override the state laws, that override the states. But for all intents and purposes, until you get into that type of law, you know, that those type of laws are for driving without licenses and stuff like that. So if you're still going to be driving with a license and all that, this is fine for you.
Evolved to create the modern day traffic stop scenario.
I'm getting pulled over.
Hello, with the highway patrol. You okay?
Yeah.
You can give me your license back. Okay. It might be in my glove compartment. Okay, you can check.
Just about everyone who operates a motor vehicle or is a passenger in one has been or will be stopped by a police officer. A traffic stop is considered a seizure under the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, and any police officer conducting a stop must have reasonable suspicion that a crime or violation has occurred or is about to occur, as per Terry v. Ohio.
Good evening, officer. How's it going?
Did you know you were swerving between lanes?
Actually, I think it said 40. This is car 15. I'm gonna have that.
Did you hear? Did you hear that one? This fool just gave it up. So you doing about 30? He said, actually, I think it said about 40. Like, dude,
Got a stop. Actually, I think it said 40. This is car 15. I'm gonna need backup. I've got a stolen vehicle here. But this is my car. Suspect's getting belligerent. What? Officer down.
The 1981 case of United States v. Cortez ruled that a vehicle can also be stopped if an officer has reason to believe that one or more of the occupants are suspects in a crime. In most cases, when a vehicle...
Let me go back.
The 19...
Stolen vehicle here. But this is my car. Suspect's getting belligerent. What? Officer down.
The 1981 case of United States v. Cortez ruled that a vehicle can also be stopped if an officer has reason to believe that one or more of the occupants are suspects in a crime. In most cases, when a vehicle is stopped, the driver is the target of the seizure and the passenger is collaterally seized by the officer conducting the stop, which often begs the question, can a passenger be detained during a traffic stop? The short answer is yes.
Get out. Ma'am, get out of the vehicle.
Step out of the car, sir.
Step out of the car.
Why can an officer detain the passenger or make the passenger get out of the car?
For safety.
What do you mean? You mean break it down?
For the police officer to be safe.
In what way?
Will the passenger can pose a threat to them?
Maybe a weapon in the car or something.
Yeah. Well, that could. I mean, that's more of a in a hypothetical situation. But they can't just assume that you have a weapon in the car and do it.
Don't have to do something with the authority during the stop.
Go ahead, keep going.
Like they have complete control of the stop. Like
yes, they have unquestioned command of the traffic stop, of the police stop. So whatever they tell you to do that at the stop that doesn't violate your rights, you have to do. So if they tell the passenger to get out of the car, you got to get out of the car because that is, you're right, that is about their safety. And so they want to, if the stop is, is going to be extended, and they want to maybe look around the vehicle or whatever it is. They want to be safe. They want to make sure that the passenger is in a safe distance. Yes, they can make the passenger get out of the car. So that's the first thing.
Okay, so step out back for me.
All right, sweet. The 1997 case of Maryland v. Wilson granted officers the authority to control the movement of passengers until a traffic stop is completed. In the 2005 case of United States v. Williams, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals held that an officer can order a passenger in a vehicle who was trying to exit and leave a traffic stop back into the vehicle, reasoning that allowing a passenger or passengers to wander freely about while a lone officer conducts a traffic stop presents a dangerous situation by splitting the officer's attention between two or more individuals and enabling the driver and or the passengers to take advantage of a distracted officer. The court ruled that the need for an officer's safety and ability to exercise control over the occupants in a stopped vehicle outweighs the minimal intrusion into the passenger's liberty. Although an officer can control the movement of a passenger by ordering them to remain inside or exit the vehicle, that does not dissolve the passenger's rights. In the 2007 case of Brindland v. California, the Supreme Court held that all occupants of a stopped vehicle are subject to seizure and retain certain rights during a traffic stop. In most cases, passengers of motor vehicles possess the same rights as the driver. These rights include the right to be free from unreasonable or illegal searches by
Where do I find that law, that right?
Fourth Amendment.
Fourth Amendment.
Yep.
law enforcement, the right to remain silent and not answer questions.
Fifth.
The police, the right to challenge the legality of a stop in court, and the
Where do I find that one? Wait, and this one.
to challenge the legality of any search.
Where I find those two?
Is that back to the fourth?
You tell me.
I gotta look it up.
Don't turn the question back on me. I'm asking you the question. And everybody.
You're gonna have to give me a second now.
No one knows. Where are your rights? your traffic stop rights. What are the most important rights at a traffic stop? Your constitutional rights. Your most important constitutional rights.
The 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Okay, which one didn't we mention?
The 6th.
There you go.
Now you led him to the answer.
You was looking it up in the book. What's the difference? Or Googling it. This nigga Googling it. Man, because I get you got to the answer before you can finish the Google.
You're damn right.
But yeah.
I was getting there.
4th, 5th, 6th Amendment. Now, really quickly, was we haven't touched on the 5th and 6th that much. We did on the first day where we went over don't speak to police. We showed that video. Excuse me. But we didn't get too in depth into it. And we, for you to understand really how, we did. That video pressed its point. But that same guy, or one of the videos we showed, he does another video, and I wanted to show you guys. But I'll just tell you how it goes down. He asked he runs off this what is it? What's the term? File, a police file of like a crime or criminal or something like that, of something that he did. And so he runs down, he says, yeah, this guy, he was wanted, for, he massacred blah, 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 this many people at, in this place. And, so he just ran the whole thing down to the whole class, this person massacred this many people at this place and blah, blah, blah. So then he goes around, he starts talking about something else. He jumped into another law real quick, or another point. And then he jumped back into the question. And so then he's saying back around, and he says, how many of you people remember? He says, how many people, or how many people did the perpetrator shoot? He said, how many people did the perpetrator shoot? Do you remember from the story from the first time around? And everybody started answering, 1, 3, 2, blah, blah, blah. And so then he was like, did I say he shot anyone? And he said, that's why you don't talk to the police. That's what it was. It was about a guy who was giving his account of what happened to police officers. And so this dude was talking and fumbled himself into getting arrested. And so that's what happened. He broke the whole thing down. And so he was like, yo, so he said the guy got arrested for, he gave a story of another guy. So he was talking about this guy who did it. He kept talking and got himself into trouble. And then he gave an analogy of what happened, of some other story about, and he said, yo, see if you guys can remember what I say. And so when they came back around, they was all picking people who got shot. And that's when he was like, none of y'all need to open your mouth to the police. He said, because that's the whole point right there. The police officer will talk to you and trick you into giving them information. They take classes on it. This is not like some shit that they go over a couple times, and then they say, do you guys got it? They have to take a class on this, and they have to pass a test on being able to talk people and to say certain things into giving over information. So unless you are well-versed in that, or well-versed in the laws that counteract this nigga's mouth or her mouth, you don't need to be talking. Oh, and one other thing, if you guys don't have sovereign status, and you at some point in time you get pulled over, or you get hemmed up, and it does lead to an arrest. Do you guys have lawyers? Do you know who to call to talk? You gonna try to do the case yourself? Do you have legal representation? Anything like that?
I don't have any attorneys on retainer right now.
Neither do I.
Okay, that's a service. If you guys aren't up on the law and able to speak the law yourself, that's a necessity. That's a necessity that you got to have. Now, have you guys heard of prepaid legal?
Yep.
All right, it's called Legal Shield. They transfer. It's called Legal Shield. Everybody should be on that. It's like $30 a month or something like that. Or they got different things you can pay, $20-something a month, $30 a month. But you always have a lawyer on deck. They got yearly plans. You can pay it out for the year, and then just always have them on deck for the year. But that's something that everybody should have. At least if you have it in your family, one person should have it in the family. You don't have to have, like, everybody in the family don't have to have it. I suggest that if you are all adults and you're all moving around individually, it's important to have for each person, or at least a couple of you in the house. But everybody, legal is called Legal Shield. Now, again, I'm only promoting this because I understand that most people don't know the law, and you have to have some type of lifeline. So, they do stuff like this. They handle little stuff like this. Also, another one would be called the Traffic Court Pros. You can Google trafficcourtpros.com. I think they have offices in most states, or they're represented in most states. So, if it's only a traffic violation, you can probably use them, Traffic Court Pros. But to have somebody on, excuse me, to have somebody just on deck whenever if anything ever happens. If a police officer does violate your rights and you want to sue that police officer, not just place a lien on their bond, then that dude can institute that. You can get proceedings started on that. You probably have to pay a little bit more. He doesn't do it for the $30 a month, but they can get, you got an end to sue him. And usually for stuff like that, they'll take payment on the back end once you get paid. You don't have to pay them up front.
To the stop in court. Drivers are generally responsible for what is in the vehicle that they are operating. For example, a driver may be held responsible for any illegal substances or contraband found in their back seat. Passengers are not held to the same standard of responsibility over such items unless they are the owner of the vehicle, are within immediate reach of the items, or there is some other flagrant indication of ownership which ties the items to the passenger. Depending on the type of stop that occurs and the subsequent investigation, the passenger may have additional rights. But is a passenger required to identify themselves upon request?
You're obligated when you're in a motor vehicle to present your ID. When you're driving? When you're in the motor vehicle, yes, like right now. Can I see what law is that?
In 2019, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals held that a demand for a passenger's identification is not part of the mission of a traffic stop, and an officer may not extend the length of a traffic stop simply because a passenger refuses to present identification in the case of United States versus Landeros. However, there are certain circumstances which may grant officers the authority to demand a passenger to identify themselves.
Why can't a police officer ask for your ID and as a passenger if they've already pulled over the driver and he's already under suspicion or probable cause? Why can't they ask for your ID?
Because passenger's not driving.
Well, sort of. It has the elements of that, yes. But not necessarily exactly.
I mean, what do they
stop?
So we all were talking at the same time.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was just saying That's prolonging the stop, and they're not supposed to do that.
What? They're not supposed to do what?
They're not supposed to ask for the passenger's ID at the stop because that's prolonging the stop, and they're not supposed to do that.
Prolonging the stop if it has nothing to do with the stop.
Right.
So you're saying, my question is, why doesn't he have the right? One said because he's not the driver, or he or she, the passenger, is not the driver. It has elements of that, but why can't a police officer ask you for your ID? As a passenger, if you've already pulled over the driver and he's already under suspicion or probable cause.
What suspicion do they have of the passenger? They don't have any suspicion.
Good answer. There you go. You ain't you not the driver. Y'all two different. Y'all rights ain't the same. He's a citizen. You're a citizen. You got individual rights. Your rights does not, or his rights do not, conflate with yours. Or you guys they don't join together. Like, nigga, my rights are my rights. And if I've shown no suspicion of a crime, then you can't ask me for my ID as a passenger. They can tell you what to do physically with your body, get out of the car, that type of stuff. I mean, and I only mean, to a certain extent. They can't tell you to shut up or anything like that. But they can tell you to get out of the car. But they definitely cannot ask for your ID. Unless they suspect you of the crime.
If an officer has a reasonable suspicion that a passenger has committed, is committing, or is about to commit a crime, then he may require them to identify themselves. For example, if an officer approaches a stopped vehicle and notices the passenger is covered in someone else's blood, then the officer may lawfully demand to see their ID. Furthermore, if a passenger becomes an element of an investigation following a routine traffic stop, they may be required to produce identification. For example, if an officer approaches a stopped vehicle and notices that the inside of the car is covered in blood, then the officer may lawfully identify the passenger. If you are a passenger and an officer asks for your ID, it is a good rule of thumb to ask the officer if they suspect you of committing a crime.
What crime am I suspected of committing?
Am I being detained or am I free to go? You're being detained. For what? What crime do you suspect me of committing? You suspect me of committing a crime?
Bear in mind.
Find the perfect home on Redfin. Here's how. First, save a search on redfin.com.
Bear in mind that law enforcement officers are not required to tell you what crime they suspect you of committing in order to identify you. Although officers must have reasonable and articulable suspicion that a crime has occurred, they may...
So what's the proper question then? If they don't have to tell you what crime they suspect you of committing, what's the proper question to ask a police officer if they say, or if you say, yeah, you suspect me of committing a crime? And they say, yes. What is the proper question after that?
What reasonable suspicion?
Sort of. Make it more articulate.
Can you articulate specific facts that led you to believe that I'm about to commit or have committed a crime?
What am I doing, have done, or was about to do that led you to believe I was about to commit a crime? See, it's not asking what crime have I committed or what crime you suspect me of committing, but what what actions am I doing, have done, or you suspect me of about to do, or I'm about to do that leads you to believe I'm about to commit a crime, or in the process of it. See, because they do have to articulate that, and you definitely should have that on camera. Because they don't have to say what crime they suspect you committing, but they damn sure have to say what you were doing that led them to believe that you were about to commit a crime.
Choose to withhold their reasoning until the case reaches the courtroom. If an officer advises suspect you of committing in order to identify you, although officers must have reasonable and articulable suspicion that a crime has occurred, they may choose to withhold their reasoning until the case reaches the courtroom. If an officer advises you that they do indeed have reasonable suspicion, then you must produce your ID, regardless of whether or not you believe their suspicions to be accurate. However, if an officer tells you that they do not suspect you of having committed a crime, then you are not required to identify yourself.
And again, you don't have to produce ID. He's talking in only stop and identify states. Everybody else, you don't have to produce an ID. If they say, yeah, I do suspect you about to or have committed a crime. You don't have to do it. Remember, it's only name. Name and probably date of birth. They'll probably ask you for that.
But what about sobriety tests? Do passengers have the right to refuse alcohol or drug testing? The answer is yes. If a vehicle is stopped for suspicion of DUI, the passenger may refuse any testing by police to determine their intoxication level. The driver, however, may not be able to refuse depending on the state, because the potential crime being investigated by police is whether the driver was impaired while driving. The passenger's intoxication is irrelevant to such an investigation. Thus, a passenger may refuse any alcohol or drug tests without being subjected to any license suspension or arrest for refusing. Legal writer and attorney at law Lauren Wallace highlighted simple steps that can...
I'm sorry, I was laughing through that. Let me go back. That dude is hilarious. That dude is going off. He's killing me.
The driver, however, may not be able to refuse depending on the state, because the potential crime being investigated by police is whether the driver was impaired while driving. The passenger's intoxication is irrelevant to such an investigation. Thus, a passenger may refuse any alcohol or drug tests without being subjected to any license suspension or arrest for refusing. Legal writer and attorney at law Lauren Wallace highlighted simple steps that can be taken when interacting with law enforcement officers as a passenger during a traffic stop, which can greatly impact the outcome of the encounter. Always be polite and respectful with police, even if they are not. Never interfere with a search by police or an arrest of someone else. Do not resist an arrest, even if you believe it to be illegal. Do not run away or make sudden movements when police have ordered you to stay or keep your hands visible. Do not answer any questions or make any statements to police if you do not wish to do so.
Really quickly, the do not resist. That's really important, because we're going to go over some of the codes. So hope we'll be able to get into some of them. A lot of, but we only got a little bit of time left. So the do not resist one is really important. Because in California law, and I'm sure this is uniform throughout the rest of the states, it states that when an officer informs you that they are arresting you, then it is your duty to not resist immediately. So when they say the words, you're under arrest, you're basically just supposed to go limp. You can still verbally talk and say, I do not consent to this arrest, or blah, blah, blah. This is, you can say those things so that you get them on camera, because if you don't, if they're doing it illegally, it's considered tacit consent. So you still want to say verbally, I do not consent to this arrest, blah, blah, blah. You want to get everything that they're doing wrong verbally, but you don't want to physically give up any force after the words come out, you're under arrest. That's the main one they use. That's literally the main charge that they use against people. Because they know they upset you, get you crazy and irate. And as soon as they grab you, You'd be like, man, what you doing? As soon as you go, what you doing, and turn your body, that's resisting arrest. Just right off the bat, just like that. And they know that. And then they go, stop resisting. They just yell it out loud, all loud on camera, so they can be beating the shit out of you and turning your arm into a pretzel. You know what I'm saying? While, you know, so when you take them in and you try to, you know, charge police brutality, he was resisting arrest. So every time even when on camera, when they say stop resisting arrest, you say, I'm not resisting. You counteract it every single time. Every single time they say stop resisting arrest, I'm not resisting.
Hopefully
none of y'all have to get in that situation.
Right to remain silent, and they may be able to use your answers and statements against you later in court. Ask the officer if you can leave, and if permitted, do so calmly. During any interaction with police, it is important to remain calm and remember to fight your battles against injustice in the courtroom and not on the street. Police are given a lot of authority to control a potentially dangerous or criminal situation. Your appropriate behavior can keep you safe and put you in a better position to challenge any illegal police activity later in court. Let us know if there's an interaction or legal topic you would like us to cover in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
So, just gonna go over some codes real quick, show y'all. So, this one is two. Hold on, we're gonna start down here at 833. So that's disorderly conduct. That's another one. That's one of the other main ones that they try to get you with. So just real quick. So you guys have to get used to just looking these up. So this is the California Code website. You know, excuse me. Just the basic website. You go there and you can type in the search bar, and usually whatever you type into the search bar, it'll highlight it. It'll give you every place that word or phrase or whatever is listed in the code. But it will also highlight it, so you don't have to, you know, when you're searching around and looking for it. So this is one real quick, just pat downs. A peace officer may search for dangerous weapons. Any person whom he has legal cause, and see they changed the phrase from probable cause to legal cause or reasonable cause in California. I noticed that. So a peace officer may search for dangerous weapons. Any person whom, and it should be on any person whom he has legal cause to arrest whenever he has reasonable cause to believe that the person possesses a dangerous weapon. If the officer finds a dangerous weapon, he may take it and keep it until the completion of the questioning, when he shall either return it or arrest the person. The arrest may be for the illegal possession of the weapon. So again, so this is, you got to get used to the legal wording. So whom he has legal cause. A person may search for dangerous weapons who he has legal cause to arrest whenever he has reasonable cause to believe that person possesses a dangerous weapon. So you see this? This is supposed to be reasonable suspicion. See, or in probable cause. But what they tried to do is blend the two to try to give a police officer more leeway into being able to, engage with you or instigate, an arrest. So you have to understand. So it's still for you and still in law, even though they put it in the law, if you may find it in your code, even though they changed it in the code, it's still what it is in the Constitution and the Supreme Court rulings. So they have reasonable cause, but it's still reasonable suspicion and probable cause. And it's not legal cause to arrest, it's probable cause to arrest. So again, they try to reword it. You have to know what's the correct wording. So, but again, it's legally, it's trickery, it's wordplay. So a police officer can do this whenever he has reasonable cause to believe that the person possesses a dangerous weapon. Let's keep it moving. In addition to any other detention permitted by law, if a peace officer has reasonable cause to believe that a person has a firearm or other deadly weapon with him or her in violation of any provision of law relating to firearms or deadly weapons, the peace officer may detain that person to determine whether a crime relating to weapons or deadly weapons, relating to firearms or deadly weapons has been committed. For the purpose of the section, reasonable cause to detain requires that the circumstances known or apparent to the officer must include specific and articulable facts causing him or her to suspect that some offense relating to firearms or deadly weapons has taken place or is occurring or is about to occur, and that the person he or she intends to detain is involved in that offense. Reasonable and articulable facts. The circumstances must be such as would cause any reasonable peace officer it should be in a like position, drawing when appropriate on his or her training and experience to suspect the same offense and the same involvement by the person in question. Very important. This whole law breaks it all down. And your laws are just that specific too. You got to look them up. You got to find your codes. And question, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait a minute. What is this?
So are there certain codes that you highlight, or have you just been through the whole book pretty much?
Well, no, these are codes that are specific. So when I was doing status law, I was going through stuff, pertaining to status and, stuff like that. A lot of this stuff crosses over, it gets cross-referenced with each other. But, because the thing is, status law, with status law, you don't necessarily need to know all of this. It's good to know when you're dealing with a police officer. So I'll give you an example. Under my status, because I'm not in the system, in the corporation, if I was to get pulled over, unlike the rest of you, when you were doing all this and that, if they were going to take me in, and all of you have this code, all of you have this as well in your state codes, in your laws. But I would tell him to take me to see a magistrate immediately. So before they go take me to book me and send me to court, send me to jail, I demand to see a magistrate, which means they have to take you without delay. It says this in my code, that they have to take you without delay to see a magistrate. A magistrate is a public official defined in our code. A magistrate is defined as a public official. I have what's called public official bonds, or they have what's called public official bonds. So what would happen under status law, I would go in there and say, I'm challenging the jurisdiction of the court right off the bat before they take me to jail. I'm challenging the jurisdiction of the court. I need, a week or whatever, how many days to prepare my case for a special appearance. So then the judge would grant you that. If they don't grant you that, because by law they have to give you time to present a case. and to place your status on the record. If they don't, see, if they try to railroad you and they think you don't know any law, then you can pull that magistrate's bond and get him disqualified. So the bond game is at the very top of the list of everything. So when they try to fuck you over, you can get their bond. And also judges too. You can get judges disqualified with the Code of Judicial Ethics, or excuse me, is the Code of Judicial Procedure. So every state has that Code of Judicial Procedure. And so in that, it tells you how you can disqualify a judge. And usually by a judge being any way biased or acting in any way biased against you, is cause for them to be disqualified. And that can be something as simple as when you present your case, the judge laughs or snickers or rolls his eyes. That means they got a bias against you, and they can be disqualified. If you come in and you say, well, I'm sovereign, and they start laughing or start, oh, here we go again with this stuff. They do any of that, you can disqualify them because they already have a predisposition to your case. The law, man, the law will get you out of a lot of shit. You just need to, I'm trying to tell motherfuckers, man, the law is the promised land if you know it. I'm trying to tell you, when you know the law, being on this side of it is real. So status is like, that's what status is. So the status, I don't, so if that were to happen, I go see a magistrate, I get a continuance to present my special appearance, then I would send my paperwork in. I don't even go to the court. I would send my paperwork in, a special appearance, on why they don't have jurisdiction over me. And because the Supreme Court has ruled that no one can vest itself with jurisdiction, you have to prove jurisdiction before the court can even move. They have to prove they got jurisdiction over me. Something they can't do because I don't have any contracts with them. I don't have the driver's license or the birth certificate, or I don't have any of that shit. And if I did, the paperwork that I have only states that I have it so that I don't get harassed while I'm in their system, but in no way does it obligate me to their laws. So that's what my paperwork does. So that's the status side, but that takes a lot. That's a lot of study. And I advise for you to eventually get to that, to get to that point. However, before that, there are a lot of loopholes left in the law for the rich elite, the Caucasian elite. And so their lawyers use this all day to get them off, and you can use the same laws. You just need to be able to go in there and do it yourself. You can't hire a $250 an hour to $1,000 an hour lawyer. So you got to be up on your law game until you get enough money to be able to do that, if you choose to do that. So that was the first. You don't need to read the rest of this, so you can go to the next one. If a person has knowledge, or by the exercise of reasonable care should have knowledge, that he is being arrested by a peace officer, it is the duty of such person to refrain from using force or any weapon. And the rest of that was to resist arrest. So this is right here in the law. This is how they get you right off the bat. This is, you're resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting. So immediately when they say, and it says right here, if a person has knowledge or by the exercise of reasonable care should have knowledge that he is being arrested by a peace officer, it is his duty to refrain from using force or any weapon to resist such arrest. So right off the bat, in California, that means your body got to go limp. Your mouth don't. You can still talk, but once they do that, and then the law is for the court. You can get them if they're violating your rights or arresting, or it's an illegal arrest. Then boom, you can get them. Now, this is really important. An arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person, or by submission to the custody of an officer. Excuse me, or by submission to the custody of an officer. The person arrested may be subjected to such restraint as is reasonable for, I forgot, for it's reasonable for their best detention or something like that. I can't because I had to cut it off. But for the most part, you can see right here, an arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person. So detain and arrest are two different things. They try to make them thing the same when they put the cuffs on you and still say they're detaining you. When they throw cuffs on you, especially if you're in California, as you just saw, an arrest is made by an actual restraint of the person. So as soon as they physically restrain you, you're under arrest. And if they violated your right, if they've done that without proving that you've committed some type of crime, they violated your constitutional right. And you can go after that bond. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. So we're gonna get into the rest of it. And the whole. Let me see if I can look through this. All right, hold on. So the legislature finds and declares that all of the following: that the authority to use physical force. Yeah, well, we definitely got to get this. I was about to skip this one, but we definitely got to go in this one. So the legislature finds and declares all of the following: that the authority to use physical force conferred on peace officers by this section is a serious responsibility that shall be exercised judiciously with the respect for human rights and dignity and for the sanctity of every human life. The legislature further finds and declares that every person has a right to be free from excessive use of force by officers acting under color of law. What is color of law?
A semblance of law.
Well, give me an example of what color of law is. You guys got to know this in real time, not some bullshit idea of it from a book. What is an example of color of law from a police officer?
Traffic violations?
No. So what's the definition of color of law, Jason?
The semblance of law or something that's not actual law.
Looks like, but not the real thing. So now give me an example of color of law from a police officer. It's real simple, bro. Come on, spit it out.
When they lie to you?
When they making shit up. Yeah, that's color of law. When these niggas just start making shit up so they can harass you, which is what they do most of the time. That's why it's important for you to know what law they making up. Because when they do that, see, most of these police officers don't even know. They leave themselves so wide open for their bonds to be snatched up and lawsuits, but most people don't know how to sue the police unless you're rich or you just you one of those, middle class Caucasian-y niggas who just nerd about the law and about your rights. But most people don't, 90% of the people, 95% of the people don't know how to go about getting remedy from the police. So they just do it with reckless abandon. And most of them don't even know that they're violating your rights when they do it. So they don't even know that they're leaving themselves open for their bonds to be snatched up. But that's how you can get at them at those police stops. You go, when that police officer stops you, you hit him with the, all right, bro, now I'm just gonna let you know right off the bat. If you violate any one of my rights, my constitutionally protected rights right now in this stop, I'm coming after your bond. And you know what I'm talking about. And that's not a threat. That's called constructive or legal notice of a claim. So they'll try to get you for threat. Are you threatening me? No, that's called constructive legal notice. No, excuse me. It's called express notice. My bad. Constructive notice is written. Express notice is when you tell somebody. So that's called express legal notice that I'm going to make a claim on your bond if you violate my constitutional rights. If you don't got nothing to worry about if you don't violate my rights. But if you trust me, I'm checking. Soon as you violate one of my rights, officer, that bond is mine. And then you can get into it and then you can get in, once you really know, you start getting into the talk about it. What is that bond about? Your bond is what, about 75,000? What, 7,500 grand? Oh yeah. Would you 50, 75? Is that what your bond is? See, they don't expect you to know shit like that. The price of the bond, how much the bonds are for. When you start talking that type of shit, they know you real. But you under a blanket and you start talking, oh, what are you under a blanket bond? You got an individual bond? You got a blanket bond. Oh, don't worry, I'll look it up. I'll find it. You start saying shit like that. Whole different ballgame. As set forth below, it is the intent of the legislature that peace officers use deadly force only when necessary in defense of human life. In determining whether deadly force is necessary, officers shall evaluate each situation in light of the particular circumstances of each case, and shall use other available resources and techniques if reasonably safe and feasible to an objectively reasonable officer. So the decision by a peace officer to use force shall be evaluated carefully and thoroughly in a manner that reflects the gravity of that authority and the serious consequences of the use of force by peace officers. Where'd it go? The decision by a peace officer to use force shall be evaluated from the perspective of a reasonable peace officer in that same situation, based on the totality of the circumstances known to or perceived by the officer at the time, rather than with the benefit of hindsight, and that the totality of the circumstances shall account for occasions when officers may be forced to make quick judgments about using force. That individuals, that individuals with physical, mental health, that individuals with physical, mental health, developmental, or intellectual disabilities are significantly more likely to experience greater levels of physical force during police interactions, as their disability may affect their ability to understand or comply with commands from peace officers. It is estimated that individuals with disabilities are involved in between 1/3 and 1/2 of all fatal encounters with law enforcement. Any peace officer who has reasonable cause to believe that the person to be arrested has committed a public offense may use objectively reasonable force to effect the arrest to prevent escape or to overcome resistance. Now, that's very important. So it gave them the situations and when they're able to use reasonable force. But right here, what it says was any peace officer who has reasonable cause to believe that a person to be arrested has committed a public offense. Now, this is different, a public offense. So basically, that's mostly what you're doing. When a police officer is messing with you most of the time, that's all you're doing is committing a public offense by law. And so by law, again, it says objectively reasonable force, not deadly force. You understand these two things are completely different. Deadly force, they mentioned it in, at the top on the other page. Where'd it go? Oh. Physical force, but where'd it go? Where's the deadly force? All right. And so go back. So deadly force and reasonable force are two completely different things. That means when a police officer pulls their weapon on you for a minor infraction, if their life is not in danger, they violated your rights. They violated the law. That's deadly force, not reasonable force. Reasonable force would be, a stun gun or, physically taking you down with their hands or using what's called a PR-24, or their nightstick. That's reasonable force. Deadly force is the gun. And they don't have the right to use that unless their lives are in absolute, when they think their lives are in absolute danger. So most people don't know this law and able to get them caught up when they use deadly force or even get a gun pulled on them. You can go get a police officer jacked up for that. So just be aware of the law, man. Y'all, everything to get them is right there if you go look it up. Peace officer is justified in using deadly force upon another person when only when the officer reasonably believes, based on the totality. Did I read that one? No, based on the totality. No, I didn't. Oh, so a peace officer is justified in using deadly force upon any other person only when the officer reasonably believes, based on the totality of the circumstances, that such force is necessary for either of the following reasons: to defend against an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to the officer or another person, to apprehend a fleeing person for any felony that threatened or resulted in death or serious bodily injury, if the officer reasonably believes that the person will cause death or serious bodily injury to another unless immediately apprehended. Where feasible, a peace officer shall, prior to the use of force, make reasonable efforts to identify themselves as a peace officer and to warn that deadly force may be used, unless the officer has objectively reasonable grounds to believe that the person is aware of those facts. A peace officer shall not use deadly force against a person based on the danger. Now, this is the one I was telling you. A peace officer shall not use deadly force against a person based on the danger that the person poses to themselves. Oh, no, this is not the one. And if an objectively reasonable officer would believe that the person does not pose an imminent threat or serious body to the officer. Hold on, let me see if it's still in here. Oh, here it is. All right. A peace officer who makes or attempts to make an arrest, a peace officer who makes or attempts to make an arrest need not retreat or desist from their efforts by reason of the resistance or threatened resistance of the person being arrested. A peace officer shall not be deemed an aggressor or lose the right to self-defense by the use of objectively reasonable force in compliance with subdivisions B and C to effect the arrest or to prevent escape or to overcome resistance. For the purpose of this subdivision, retreat does not mean tactical repositioning or other de-escalation tactics. So this is given, I'm gonna keep going for a second, but this is trying to, this is giving the officer, this is trying to position the officer, give him certain ways to be able to use force. Now, this is basically just saying, if a dude is resisting arrest, the police officer doesn't have to walk away. He doesn't have to retreat. That's basically what it's saying. Like, so when this whole you could have walked away, or you could have let me do this. So this is basically saying the police officer doesn't have to do that. It's in their discretion to be able to do that. But for the purposes of this section, the following definitions apply. Yep, thank you. What is that? Yeah, what is that? Is this thing tripping?
What just happened with what?
Computer good.
Damn.
Froze.
Shit, the Mac is macking.
No, it's not. No, it isn't freeze. It's just
Not responsive at the moment.
no, this is the Zoom for some reason. It took all of y'all out of the game. Oh, there it is. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so this is basically, Deadly force means any use of force that creates a substantial risk of causing death or serious bodily injury, including but not limited to the discharge of a firearm. Y'all see that? What we just say? Reasonable force, deadly force. It is illegal for them to pull a gun on you in the car just because you motherfucking get angry or start yelling at them or get mad. A threat of death or serious bodily injury is, a threat of death or serious bodily injury is imminent when, based on the totality of the circumstances, a reasonable officer, same situation, would believe that a person has, believe that a person has the present ability, opportunity, and apparent intent to immediately cause death or serious bodily injury to the peace officer or another person. And an imminent harm is not merely a fear of future harm, no matter how great the fear. Did y'all see that? Let's go over this one more time, because I read through that fast. A threat of death or serious bodily injury is imminent when, based on the totality of the circumstances, a reasonable officer in the same situation would believe that a person has the present ability, opportunity, and apparent intent to immediately cause death or serious bodily injury to the peace officer or another person. An imminent harm is not merely a fear of future harm, no matter how great the fear. Bam. These motherfuckers.
So you reading this makes me think that the lawyers trying these wrongful death cases and police brutality cases don't know this law. Like,
Well, it depends. This is California, still, remember, but I'm sure it's the wording is the same, just different in different laws. Now, some laws actually may be different. They may say that, deadly force is when a police officer say it is, or some shit like that. But the Supreme Court, there is a Supreme Court ruling that does say that, actually. That does say that that gives the discretion of when a police officer feels their life is in threat to the police officer. But most of those police officers don't know that shit at all. They go by these. And also, and even that gives them, it says that, you should be, that Supreme Court case states that the officer needs to be in imminent danger and, and fear of, fear of certain death and blah, blah, blah. But then it says it gives them the discretion to determine what that is, what their fear of their death is or whatever. But again, most of them don't even know that. They go by this. They go by their codes. And so right here, it states in the California code, but I'm sure there's some in the same in your state. Imminent or deadly force and reasonable force are two completely different things, and they give you the situations of when to use both. And when you're violating, just doing a public offense, when you're violating a public offense, they do not have the right to pull a gun on you for violating a public offense. But if you don't know that and they pull that gun on you, you just left dangling. But if you can speak, I'm telling you, I've seen it happen. When you speak this stuff to these people, man, they whole demeanor, everything changed when you start talking these laws. They had me in handcuffs with a warrant. And when I start talking this shit, they let me go. So, this stuff is real. We don't have time for you guys to look up your. Actually, before we do that, I want you guys to get used to doing that. So you guys will be better versed in it. Next time, we'll be able to just go right to it. Next week when I ask you guys about your codes. So go to find your state codes. You Google and look up your state codes. A lot of them will be under what's called your revised statutes. If that's that's the code word for a lot of the stuff. Is revised statutes, and codes annotated. But just basically, just if you just type in state codes, state, law codes, for whatever state it is, it should give you the state website, government website, and y'all go look that up. And then, I wanted to get into some of this bond stuff, but we can't do it today because I just finished this book. I just finished this bond book. I'll show y'all a little snippet. Oh. Where is it? All right. So public official bonds. So this is the book that I just made. Has pretty much the whole philosophy of public official bonds, the different bonds, the difference between a fidelity bond and faithful performance bond. Well, fidelity means trust and faith, whereas faithful performance just means you better do your job or be coming after your money. So all that, then it has the legal framework, the philosophy behind the legal framework behind most of the law bonds, and then some shit that I was searching for years and came up and finally got it. That would be all the bond laws in all the states, in all 50 states. I got every bond law code in all 50 goddamn states. That's a wrap. No judge, no DA, no motherfucker is safe now. Not one. This is every bond code in all the fucking 50 states. They done. So
Is the bond code for Georgia still Title 45?
I don't know, is it?
Shit.
And that's Title 45. That sounds more like a federal code. That sounds more like a federal code. Let me see.
No, it's state law.
Oh, damn it.
For the state of Georgia.
No, I'm not going to show it on the thing. Let's see, where is this?
No, you ain't got to show it. I mean, I just want to know if that's right, if I'm barking up the wrong tree or not.
Say it again.
I just want to know if I'm barking up the wrong tree or not.
Let's see. Hold on. What do you say? For where?
Georgia.
What do you think it is?
Title 45, Chapter 4. I think it's Section 24, I believe. I know it's supposed to be Title 45, Chapter 4.
Yep.
That's it?
Well, sort of. Yeah, that's it though. Yeah, you can type that in again. Yep, that's it.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was on the right track.
That's it. But that's good that you were able to find it.
Yeah, the only reason I was able to find it was because somebody on one of the last Zoe Wet shows, somebody in the chat room was saying that it's illegal to place a lien on a cop's bond in Georgia, which I knew was complete bull.
No, it ain't. You said it's illegal to place a false bond.
Yeah, I figured that's what they might have meant, but they said it was illegal to place a lien, period, on a cop's bond. And I'm like, no, if they didn't violate you and you putting a lien on them, yeah, that's illegal, but
yeah, nigga, if they violated, that's the whole point. That's what the bond is for.
Yeah.
The fuck you think the bond is for? If they
and the cat that was moderating in there didn't chin check him, and I was like, well, he might not be able to chin check him because he probably doesn't know, because he may not be from Georgia. So it bugged me. So I started looking, and I came across it. I was looking so hard for it.
I'll show y'all. Actually, let me show y'all this video from this dude, this cat, this Asian cat with the bonds. He actually got some real bonds. Damn, they deleted the video. I just put the video in there. They deleted it already. God damn.
Yep. They're shutting you down.
I just put the video in there. Somebody deleted that video. God damn. Right.
Shut them down.
All right, check this out.
Greetings. For those of you who might not completely understand what an esquire is, an esquire is somebody who has British nobility. Now what that means is when the attorney takes the bar license, he obtains a British nobility because the courts are under British rule, which unbeknownst to the Commonwealth, us, we were never told that. Yeah, big surprise, right? What do you mean the court system is still under the crown? Britain. So that is always why you get screwed over by your attorneys, because what they're not telling you is that they work for the crown, that they are loyal to the queen. That is what that title Esquire, E-S-Q, is behind your attorney at law name, title. So anytime that they want to use that Esquire title, they are basically admitting that they will work in the best interest of the courts, the best interest of the crown, because of the British nobility. That's the only way you get British nobility.
And really quick, the word attorney, y'all need to do the research on that, but the word attorney comes from a turn, which means to turn over or to hand over. So when you have an attorney, his job is literally to hand you over to the court. That's literally where the word came from. So you can use it in other words, like power of attorney, which means to hand over your power to someone else, as you can see it in that analogy or in that terminology. So an attorney in court is someone who is actually turning you over to the court, to the jurisdiction of the court.
Take oath. You make a pledge to the queen. Now keep in mind, you can't serve two masters. You can only serve one. So the courts are under British rule, and the attorney is British nobility. That means they are one of the same. But they're supposed to be representing you in their best interest. So this is where fraud upon the court comes into play. And this is where fraud comes into play all over the place, because under Fair Business Practicing Acts that are standard laws, when you retain an attorney, you are under the impression that they are fighting for your rights and your best interests, when in all actuality, they are in the best interest of the court, the queen, the crown. That is why there is Esquire. And if you think I'm joking on this, start questioning attorneys. If you have an attorney that's retained, ask them about their British nobility. You will start to see them panicking, and they will try to misguide you. And that is the fraud. When they start to lie to you to try to dumb you down and say, well, it's not what you think. Because if you notice, you try to point out that, wait a minute, I'm bound by a constitution. What about that? And they say, well, that doesn't matter anymore. It's such an old law. It's because they're working out the best interests for the crown so that you don't bill them for violating your constitutional rights. That if you are a sovereign
Now, this dude seemed crazy, right? He seemed like he a little off. He don't know what the fuck he talking about. You would watch this first half of this video, most people would be like, this nigga crazy. I ain't watching the rest of this shit. This is why you should never judge information. Always sit, no matter whatever you have to do, try to get the information, no matter how hard it is, because usually that may be a test to see if you want the information or not. So going through this dude may seem like he a little nutty and don't know what the fuck you talking about. I'm out. But watch what happens.
Now, keep in mind, sovereign citizen. I mean, United States citizen, you're still protected under the Constitution. But sovereign citizen takes you to the Organic of 1776, not 1871. There's a big difference there. But if they want to go corporate, we'll go corporate. That is why you will find that you have documents, see? At least in the state of Ohio, here for Beaver Dam, I want to show you how your public servants, you put them in check. You see this right here? Sheriff bond, furtherance of justice. Now, if you'll notice, there's a cash bond right there. See that? Oh yeah,
See, bond, $70,000. Bam, right there. Cash amount, 70 grand. That's how much most of the bonds are for. Anywhere from about 50 grand is really low, but you know, most of the bonds are about 70 grand on up. But bam, he got it right there.
$1,000 bond, furtherance of justice. Now, if you'll notice, there's a cash bond right there. See that? Oh yeah, $70,000. See, your local sheriff is required to carry an insurance bond to make sure that they carry the proper justice. So if they're out there violating your rights, well, you have the right to collect an insurance bond on your local sheriff. Now, once you've collected that local bond, once you've made a claim for that bond, that sheriff can no longer become bonded anywhere else because no one's going to carry him. He becomes a risk, a credit. Nobody wants to carry us. Man, if a cop keeps walking around violating people's rights and they got to pay $70,000 every time they do that, how many times do you think that cop's going to be covered? Now, that's also good for your district attorney. So if your district attorney does not file charges against a criminal who violated law, you can pick up bonds. Let me see here. Oh, look at this right here, just to see. Right there, up to the prosecutor.
Bam. In the matter of the approval of prosecutors' bond for further just boom.
Further benefit, right? Oh, and look at this bond. This bond, whoa, 115.
District attorney got bigger money. Shit, let's get that money. Get the district attorney money. Shit, this nigga's bond is almost twice as much.
$1,000. So if the prosecutor fails his oath, which, let's take a look at an oath to see what an oath might look like, because we're curious on what an oath might look like. Let's see here. Notice, judicial oath, right? Okay, and notice, if you'll pay attention, it says, I, Bradley J. Smith, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of Ohio. Now notice the first one mentioned in this oath, this very important oath. This defines everything in America, this oath does. He mentions that first he will honor, first takes precedence, the United States Constitution of America, not the United Constitution of Ohio. No, it's just the Constitution of the State of Ohio, but that is underneath. See, first, this one has to apply. Then you can take this one. Because you're not allowed to deprive me of any rights, okay? You can add to the original Constitution as long as you are adding more freedom. You can't take away, you can't just...
But now he gets into his crazy spiel. But I wanted y'all to see, even though motherfuckers are crazy, they can still have good information. Y'all see that shit?
Yep.
This motherfucker just showed you 2 goddamn liens he placed on. A police officer and a goddamn DA. Bam, showed you they bonds, showed you how much them bonds was for. That DA, 115. That nigga got some nice money.
115,703 to be exact.
Damn. Damn. So that's what I'm talking about. That's your remedy, right there.
And that was 5-6 years ago. Only 3,800 views.
I know, right?
Major information.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, no one even, yeah, this is what, damn. This is 2014 he did this? Yep, only 3,800 views.
And that's why
Who
you hear
knows,
people.
but that's here. Like, who knows who's downloaded this shit and then re-uploaded it to their channel to make it seem like, you know, they got content they posted. So, or took it and cut it out and put it in some of their own videos. But this is very low but most people don't understand this information. See, when you say bonds and shit, like, people don't know what the hell you talking about. But dude, it's the top part. It's the top game in the world. What's on Wall Street? What do they trade?
Bonds.
Stocks and bonds. Period. What do the Federal Reserve gets from America in return for money?
Savings bonds.
Bonds. America gives the Federal Reserve bonds in return for their credit lines. Bonds are everything. When you go to jail, you get what?
Bonds.
Bond.
You get bailed out by bail bonds.
Hopefully.
You'll go to court.
Matter of fact.
No, I'm saying somebody said something. What were you saying?
Well, matter of fact, it used to just be called bail, but then for whatever reason they started talking about bond and then started talking about bail bondsman. So
yeah. The niggas have the right to bond you. They become sureties. Or they have accounts with surety companies that bond for them. So either they're the surety or they have an account or connection to sureties that bond for them.
and depending on where you are, someone that's an officer that may have a bond, may be part of an insurance bond company, they couldn't bond you because that's basically a conflict of interest.
Yeah, no officer, this is California law. No public official can bond another public official.
Yeah, that's in Title 45 in the state of Georgia too.
Yeah, no public official can bond another public official. So, but no one really tries to do that. I don't think they really try to do that anyway. But the thing is, man, if you were actually in the bond game, that's a great game. Like especially if you were bonding police officers and shit, because all you do you getting that money every month. Most people don't place liens on police officers' bonds. They don't even know how. They don't even know that thing exists for them to be able to do it.
And here's the scary thing: in the state of Georgia, the premium for the bond is paid by the county.
Yeah, that's in California. That's in California too. Most of them, I think, most governments pay the premium for their bonds.
Well, as
1 to 5% of the bond.
Okay. Well, as you can tell, I've kind of read up on it a little bit.
I see you've been in the bond game. So you're doing your thing. But everybody needs to be up on that because that's your fail safe right there. Because like I said, in most of your states, when you're arrested, all of you can be asked to taken to see a magistrate. And right from that point, that's when you start speaking the law to the magistrate. So you don't want to talk all that law shit to the cop. He don't know shit. The magistrate does. So you start talking that stuff to the magistrate, and if the magistrate starts to violate your rights, then boom, I'm placing the lien on your bond, magistrate. Partner.
Yeah, you can do like NOPRA. You get a bond lien. You get a bond lien. You get a bond lien.
Everybody. I'm telling you, when you start talking that stuff, they leave you alone. Your name starts floating around in those places, and they say, leave that nigga alone. I mean, we got it's other millions of other motherfuckers we can fuck with. Why fuck with that dude? Leave him alone. That's just what happens.
End up getting put on a do not detain list.
Right. So, but so that's the thing, man. So go search your codes, and I'm gonna see how well y'all know your codes next week. And so penal codes and bond codes. That's what I want y'all to look up. Those are the two most important things. So that California has penal codes. I don't know. Everybody doesn't have penal codes. They're maybe termed something else. But look up your criminal laws in your state. So whatever your criminal laws are. Criminal laws. So we have any questions before we get out?
I've been following the story in Demeanor, Maryland, about the Corporal Owen, the cop that shot the 43-year-old dude and from DC 7 times, had him in custody in the front of the whip. What? Shot him 7 times and he was handcuffed.
Wait, what? I don't know. I don't know that story.
Okay. I have to send you the link, man, because that's what I've been following. Because I wanted to ask you, because like you were saying, cops have to be bonded and usually have to have individual bonds, but they can also have blanketed bonds. So I was trying to figure out, how does he end up in jail? Because they've already put him in jail like less than 24 hours. It happened on a Monday. Less than 24 hours after the shooting, they had already arrested him, and that Wednesday he went before the court.
That nigga bail exceeded his bond. That's how.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, nigga, you got a $75,000 bond, nigga, but your bail is fucking $500,000 because you kill somebody. Nigga, you ain't getting no $75,000 bail if you murdered somebody. You getting your bond is going to be hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
Probably $1 million, depending on how malicious it was.
Well, he was in custody, under arrest, hands behind his back, and he was in the front seat. Now it's unclear whether he was in the front seat with the seatbelt on or whatever, but he got shot 7 times.
God damn, man. That's just
and the cop was melanated, so
yeah.
Figure that out.
Other cop killed him?
Yeah. Corporal, I believe his name is Corporal Michael A. Owen Jr.
Oh, that's why that nigga in jail, because he a nigga cop.
Yeah.
That's why he in jail, nigga. That's why you talking about the fuck the bond. He in jail because
look up Corporal arrested in Princess County, Maryland, and you'll see it happened back in January 28, 29, last month. Literally.
Word, yeah, okay, I'll look it up, but that's why that nigga in jail.
Okay, I was
no, honestly though, his bail exceeded the bond, but the other reason is because he melanated. Is the reason he in jail.
Well, of course it's because he's melanated. I already knew that off the rip, but I was like, but what about because you were saying, that's how they usually get off because they're already bonded. I'm like, but he's should have a bond, and he couldn't have worked if he didn't have a bond. I was like, well, maybe it was a blanket bond, and they took the blanket bond off of him. I didn't know, so I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you guys get the bond book, you'll start to see how different. There are so many different bonds, and how many, and the ways they, the different people who need them. Employees have different bonds than the public official, and if the law, then certain bonds are mandated by law, and so certain officials have to have that bond, but certain employees don't. And if the employee doesn't have to have a bond, the public official will create a bond. A mandatory bond clause or policy, and then those employees will have to. It's not mandated by law, but the public, their boss mandates that they get a bond, so they have to get an individual bond that's payable only to their boss, not the city. Because what happens is if that employee fucks up, and then I come after their boss's bond, then the boss needs a way to pay that back. So he requires his employees to get an individual bond, and then or they're under something called the master bond. And then if they're under the master bond, these niggas just get taken off. they get taken off because the master bond, they don't wipe out the master bond because all the police officers are under it. So homeboy just gets cut out. They pay it off. Homeboy's just in debt. Homeboy got to go into debt. if there's a payout, if the surety company pays out, then homeboy is in mad debt.
Yeah, and it even goes into more detail because county clerks have to have bonds.
Oh yeah, dude, all of them, notary publics, county clerks, judges, nigga, everybody, county
school board,
motherfuckers. You can get at everybody for fucking with you. Period. This is what motherfuckers are. You can get at every person in the city government and the federal government for fucking with you.
Now,
because have you heard about the kid that couldn't walk because in graduation because of his dreadlocks?
Yeah, got it right at the public. Yep, could have got right at
violating his rights.
Yep, could have got right at the school board. Oh wait, how many?
Shit.
Could have got at the school board, the school superintendent, the entire school board.
People, let me tell you when I say this, 1% of the population, maybe half of 1% knows about bonds. And most of those are the people who have them.
Oh, shit.
That's what I'm trying to, this is not something that people know about. You don't know. And if you know about bonds, you only know about stocks and bonds and shit like that. You don't really know about bonds being tied to people and employment positions. You don't know anything about that. The bond game and the trust game are the illest games, period, that no one knows about.
Yeah, because the bond game kind of mimics or mirrors the trust in a way.
Sort of. Yeah, sort of. As a three-party relationship, just like a trust. Yeah.
Yep.
So this nigga been trying to read up on
Hey, look,
trying to stunt with his little knowledge. Nigga.
No, look. Let me explain this.
With your little knowledge, nigga.
No,
chain back in.
No, you gonna love this one, brother Jace. You cannot sit at the footstool of greatness for as long as we have and not learn something.
Shit, ain't no great. I don't buy that motherfucking bullshit, nigga.
I looked it up a little bit, but I ain't gonna tell y'all what I know yet.
So next week, I'm gonna get at y'all about your penal codes and some bond codes. See if y'all can take me where to find the bond laws in your state.
Can we download the whole deal as a PDF and do it like that?
Download the what?
Like I downloaded the penal codes and like that.
Nope.
No.
I want you to take me to the goddamn and find the goddamn law, nigga.
I mean, I can show you.
I don't want you to show me nothing. I want you to be able to take me to the goddamn website and find the law from scratch. Not from what you looked at already. Be able to just go right bam. Because you should be able to do that at a police stop. You can get right on your phone. They can tell you the goddamn law. You should be able to go right there and say boop. Because motherfuckers, they a lot of times they allow you to do it. Say, well, find the law. What law does that? What law allows you to do that? Well, I'm gonna pull up the law. But you pull up the law. Right there, bam. While you recording, you pull that, you go right there, pull that law. And you should be able to do that. And show them that you're able to do that real quick.
All right.
Dude, y'all gonna understand the law is about you. It ain't about the information you're able to retain or find. The law, if you don't speak it, if the law doesn't flow through you, they don't give a fuck. They'll hear it. And it's all about confidence. That's really what it's all about. Now you can not know the law and have the confidence, like my homeboy who came in when they snatched us up at UCLA and hemmed us up the second time and had us in the holding tank. This nigga kicked open the door and just started talking crazy, but he was talking so articulate He didn't, but most of the shit that he was talking, he didn't know anything. He had just got into the law. But that motherfucker was able to talk it though. It was crazy. He was able to retain a lot of the fucking words and the knowledge, and but he wasn't able to retain the context of the knowledge. He was just able to retain the information, what it sounded like. And he walked in there and got all of it and got them to release us out of jail. Like, you better let them go right now. I'm fucking all y'all up. So, but it's the confidence, man. I'm telling you. That's what they teach them. How do you think they teach a 120 pound, 110 pound female officer to be able to arrest a nigga? You gotta have confidence for that shit. you walk a 115 pound woman, walk up to a dude 200 pounds and be like, you're under arrest. Like, what?
Okay, Police Academy.
Yeah, what's her name? Hooks?
Yeah.
From Police Academy?
Will you please get down on the ground? Scumbag.
Yeah, right from Police Academy. She had to learn how to get gangster. So that's what it is. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm done getting shot down.
All right, y'all, learn y'all laws. State, again, it'll be maybe either criminal, it'll be your criminal codes or criminal procedure laws, and or penal. Those are the two. Penal code. There may be another one, but those are the two I'm familiar with. All right, y'all. I'll let y'all next week.
Yep.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Appreciate you, bro.
Peace.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You stupid nigga. Thank you. Boondocks. Peace.